Well, official welcome everyone to level 2. Last week was a primer. It was the introduction to level 2. This is the official movement into it. So let me start by saying, if you didn't go through level 1, you really shouldn't be here right now. It's not that there would be any harm from doing this. It's just you really wouldn't grasp it. But what I will say for those of you who are moving into it now, it's going to change your life. You're not going to see anything the same. You meditate this way for a period of time, and you're going to be living in two worlds. And eventually you're living in more dimensions than just two. And it's quite an adjustment for the psyche to start to function on this level. So I'll talk all about the introduction to it. Let me just say, if you're new to this and you haven't done level 1, you should go to onlinemonastery.com, listen to the introduction. Listen to the introductory talk, and then listen to the 2.5-hour full introduction. If you like that, start going through all the videos that take you through levels, meditations 1 through 12. Then watch the introduction to level 2, and then you can begin level 2. It's recommended to take 1 month per meditation. With this current group who's here now, and thank you all who are here now, we've been going through once a week, and then we've taken occasional little breaks, but not that much. So this is a lifelong practice. And as we go into level 2, I prepared the training manual today. We have one. I don't have the training manual for the next week. I'm going to have to make that myself. But past Matthew in 2005, I did a lot of his homework, but not all, or I didn't save it all or whatever. So we have recordings. If you go to onlinemonastery.com, you'll see in the SoundCloud audio list that lesson 9 is what we're in now, meditations, I never think about this, 13 to 18, I guess it would be. It's going through the first 6 meditations again today on what we call the energetic level. So it's like Anahat energetics is what we're getting into now. And yeah, so go to where you've been listening to all the audio from 2005, and there's a training manual as well for lesson 9, and I'll be working with that to show you as we go through today. My book, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation, does not cover any teachings about level 2, but it alludes to it. It mentions the levels, but it doesn't teach it. And then the Anahat Meditation System book, formerly known as the Journals of Michael Devane, that does teach it. However, I wrote that stuff before 2005, like all that work was done by then. I've had a lot of time to meditate on this since then, including just this past week. And when I looked at the training manual today, like I do, Sunday is the day to look at that material, I would have taught it differently, but I think it's good that I taught it the way I did, so you can study that and say, okay, I see where his consciousness was at then, and then we can see what happened, what's it been, 15 years later, like how much do I understand about the system. Essentially, it all came to me as it did, yet what we're looking at as we move into this section are 3-dimensional geometric forms. And you start putting your attention on those. So it's not that those weren't there 15 plus years ago. Remember, all the stuff came to me like 24, something like that. Yeah, I think so. Like 24 years ago. So I've had 24 years to meditate on it. I'm still doing it, so that's a testament for me. It's like, I didn't make this stuff up, and I'm still practicing it. I'm practicing it largely the way it was taught to me or revealed to me, because I need to teach it to you in that way. Yet, you're going to evolve with your practice, and you'll have deeper insight into each meditation and each glyph. And the way I teach it is not necessarily how I practice it internally. It's like if I taught you how to do yoga, right? I've been doing yoga for over 25 years, I think, if that's accurate, but since 19, whatever. I've been doing yoga for a very long time, in Tai Chi and Qigong. If I were teaching that to you and teaching how to do yoga, it would be pretty basic fundamental stuff. And then after 20 plus years, even if I kept teaching you, I'd be further along And you'd be a lot further along too, and you'd have your own insights, right, about holding a pose or how you're moving energy in a pose or in a Tai Chi flow. So just understand it's going to go a lot deeper than it is now. All right, if you have any questions, let's do those at the very end. Let me just say, for those of you who've emailed me during the weeks, thank you. I'm always happy to get those. I appreciate you not overdoing that. I usually, from not everybody, but about those of you who interact with me, is like one email per week. It's pretty reasonable. Let me say that somebody mentioned some, and we didn't, I think I touched upon it last time, but I think we'll have more time tonight. I don't want to say how long it's going to be. Maybe it'll be less than 3 hours tonight. And we'll probably get on the cushion. Let's see how that goes. So somebody emailed about certain like health concerns, nauseous, some pain. And I think I touched upon that last time. My major thing is if you're a teacher and somebody says to you, I'm having medical symptoms, then you should tell them to go consult with a medical doctor, right? If we're charging for a meditation system or just any, if anybody tells you to have an issue, like we're a hypnotherapy school, the other huge part of my life's work, and if somebody mentioned that, I'd have to say, go get a medical referral. But I can tell you that, and that email also mentioned sensations of hot and cold or sweating during meditation. That is just kind of par for the course. So as you start moving into level 2, you will, whether you know it or not, you'll be in a sense bringing your etheric and astral being, or all of your energetic being, out of coincidence with your physical body. Now, this is why level 1 and especially descending is so important, because once we get to level 3, if you're actively practicing that all the time, you're really not going to be all that in your body. And the veils between this world and the other world can certainly start to drop away. And I intentionally use the word can because I'm not promising you'll have any mystical experiences from this. But out-of-body experiences and cosmic conscious experiences, time travel, other dimensions, other portals, angelic or non-physical being visits. You'll be waking up in bed at night and you're not seeing the physical room, you're seeing the etheric room, or you're floating above the bed. While you're coming out of coincidence with your physical body, it can feel really awkward. So weird temperature changes in your body because you're not fully in it, right? Nausea can come about because you're loosening yourself from the physical. So the person asked about that said the breathing, should have slowed the breathing and didn't go quite as deep. As I practice level 2 now to prepare to teach it to you, I'm barely breathing. We talk about the breath within the breath, and it's just a lot more subtle on the level we're moving into. So breathing and counting, I don't do that now at all. It's way too dense. Focusing on the body is way too dense. But as you are transitioning to those more subtle levels, you are kind of, but I'll teach you to do it once we get to the astral projection teachings, because then you are intentionally, so that you're kind of doing what I'm going to say now, and then you're intentionally going to be doing it. So once you get to level 3, which is within a few weeks, if you keep doing this, you'll be putting your attention on your etheric and astral body and on those geometric grids. Yeah, you might feel a little odd. I'm in retreat now in it's August 23rd, 2020. So we've got COVID going on, so you can't leave the house. I'm in California, so there's wildfires everywhere, and it's crazy hot, so you can't leave the house. And then the air is horrible quality because there's smoke everywhere, so you can't leave the house. Whatever on that. But as far as having an enormous amount of time to meditate alone on the top of a mountain, I do. And when I went into all of these, let me say it this way, when all the revelations came to me, when I was in intense meditation back in 1996, I was living in an ashram. I barely had to work, just enough to make a little money to I barely needed anything. So most of my time was spent in my tent meditating. You want to understand, this is onlinemonastery.com. These are like monastic level teachings for people who can afford to pull away from this world. One of our classmates, who's not here right now, I don't think, last week I said, when you start kind of leaving your body, it messes you up. And she's like, well, mess me up. I'm like, well, I hope you're financially secure. So you don't have to always focus on level 2 and 3. Level 1 has tons of benefit. It'll keep you very grounded. It'll help you in the idea of life mastery, where level 2 is going to move you towards self-realization, God realization, out-of-body experiences, ascension, stuff that we'll talk a lot about in level 3. But level 2 is like the movement into that. You're not focused necessarily on the absolute highest yet, but you're going to be focused on etheric and astral levels, predominantly etheric levels. But that's not physical. So to keep your attention on the non-physical for longer periods of time each day does make it harder to integrate with or to be with the physical. To integrate with the physical, that's why we have this meditation system. So you might remember the whole reason this all came to me is I was out of my body and ungrounded like there was no tomorrow. And it's probably a literal statement as well. Like I didn't care about the next day, just God, God, God. All I care about is God. I just care about God. I only want God. And I was able to create a lifestyle that allowed for that. So, but that made me dysfunctional. Then all of the descending practice of Zen meditation, right? Zen kept me very grounded. But whenever I did intense Zen practice, I lost my connection to the higher consciousness. The mystical experiences, the non-physical experiences, the out-of-body experiences, they just wouldn't happen when I was only descending. So I went into deep prayer during that time and said, how do I, and I don't know if I had these exact words, but the intention was, how do I be fully grounded? How do I be fully open to spirit? And how do I do that with a fully open heart? How do I live in the sense of life mastery, right, where I'm successful in every category of my life? This system, as well as our life mastery course I teach in our hypnotherapy school, and we might cover it a bit here so that this isn't only about self-realization. You know, the Anahat system is a lot more than just the movement towards self-realization, but I like the idea of self-actualization that says you are successful in every aspect of your life. But level 1, along with our life mastery course, essentially is going to do that for you. It's going to open all of your chakras, and it's going to do it while you're largely connected to the physical body. As you move into level 2, you will be disconnecting from the physical body. When we do level 3, the out-of-body stuff specifically, or just the higher samadhi stages specifically, just all of that, you're gonna, in this, I don't want to say too much now. It's like you disconnect the grids from the physical body. And in level 3, you pretty much only do ascending. Not only, but largely ascending. And I'll explain all that later when we get to level 3. This is like an interim to that. And level 1 is just going to be really good for self-actualization. And I was doing largely level 1 for probably the majority of the past however many years, because I knew I was here. I know I'm here in a mission. I know, just like you guys, I have a dharma, I have a purpose, and it was largely to be on this planet and to open the hypnotherapy school and teach these teachings and write my books. Like, I know what I'm here to do and I'm doing it. And that doesn't really require me to be out of my body anymore. So as I'm getting into level 2, I was like, oh, wow, the door's kind of opening again. 47 years old, I've completed a lot of my life's work. I've delegated most of what I do. And I couldn't do what I did. I wouldn't want to do what I did in my 20s and 30s. And now whenever it comes to that kind of stuff, like a lot of computer work or data entry or marketing, I just delegate that out. And again, I have the means to do so. So I have the luxury right now to be able to indulge in level 2, and it's fun. I'm not going to necessarily talk about mystical experiences as they unfold. We'll see how that goes, but I can tell you, like, I am opening up to all this, and I have the ability to do so. So, huge disclaimer that when you start really focusing your San Yam power, which I'll explain again, when you start focusing San Yam power on the level 2 energetics, your life is going to change. You're going to have a lot more to balance than you would otherwise. All right. So yes, and then one of the emails I had recently about physiological discomfort, pain, or nausea. When I leave my body, uh, yeah, I can say this accurately. Like the words are so subtle here to be sure I'm describing things accurately. So please excuse any hesitations. I'm really just ensuring accuracy. When I leave my body, I quite often feel a pretty sharp pain below my rib cage in the region of like the liver and basically like kind of the solar plex level, but more to the right and left, and specifically in the liver. I'm feeling a bit more of that now as I've been extracting in level 2. And anytime there's physical pain, it's not always a good thing. That's your body trying to tell you something. So the Anahata system lets you come fully in, and that's descending, fully grounded. You need to have that in place if it starts getting weird or uncomfortable, because I could be wrong about all this, but I don't think you guys who are here now would disagree that you're a spiritual being. You are a spiritual being. Spirit is what's real. Your body is not real. I could have little doubts about maybe all of this is one big hallucination. Maybe we're not spirit. Maybe we're just a body. Maybe I've never had out-of-body experiences. But that's all craziness. Like my out-of-body experiences are more real than the physical plane. So I know that's real, and I guess my point is, as you really start focusing on that, physical is what becomes unreal, and physical becomes less and less important. But you have to honor the physical as the vehicle or the communication device for doing your life's mission. So if you're feeling you're at a stage of your life, right, wow, I'm young enough where I don't even know what my life's mission is yet, right? I can just put both eyes on God, meditate for 10 hours a day on spirit. Awesome. You can do level 2 for 10 minutes. It won't wake you out. But start doing it for an hour, 2-3 hours a day. You're not going to really be in your body. And again, you'll notice challenges with that. If it starts getting challenging, just go back and keep doing level 1. So you can start with level 1 anytime you practice. And once you do the first 12 meditations, you move to level 2. I'll say that again because I'm sure you guys, and we talked about this a little. Somebody asked last week. When you start meditating now, just do level 1. Start with meditation 1, go to meditation 12. If you feel you have the time, the discipline, the comfort in your body, the energy to keep going, then move on to level 2. So today, assuming I get on the meditation cushion, I'll guide you through all of level 1 again, maybe 2 or 3 minutes per meditation. And that's assuming that you're ready to move to the next meditation, right? If meditation 1, you're not fully descended, you're not grounded, you're not focused, you spend more time there. Then you can move to heart-centered level 2, meditation 2. And then when your heart is open and that's all clear, then you can move to level 3. So we have 12 meditations, and it might take you a few weeks of sitting there, like if you said, all right, I'm going to master all of this energy, all of level 1, and you're doing all 12 of those meditations, you would, if you were in a retreat, you might take a few weeks to really feel like you've carved out all those channels, you got it, the term fruition, right? Now, that would be when to go to level 2. So nobody here necessarily, and myself included, maybe, is really ready for level 2. But do all of level 1. If you have time and energy and your body can handle it, then go to level 2. Eventually, you might forget all about level 1 completely, but you need to understand the importance of level 1. It gets you back to fully balanced, fully grounded, fully functioning, self-actualized human. And that's important when you have not just your life's work and your life mission, but your day-to-day tasks, right? You have children, you have a job, you got to drive a car safely. So again, we're talking the kind of practices that monks do when they're able to lock themselves away from the world for a long time. But even if you do these practices, you have level 1 to keep you grounded and focused. Before I move on, I'm going to ask those of you who are here live, do you have any questions about that? because I want that solid disclaimer in place, because it's not like we're going into more advanced yoga poses, right? But they're still physical yoga poses. These are like energetic yoga poses that take you out of your body, essentially. So any questions about that before we officially jump in? All right, you guys are ready. You've been warned. All right. Let's get the training manual out. Good, thank you. Somebody said that's very helpful. I hope so. Just a sec, that's not doing what I think it should. All right, so you should be seeing level 1. I'm sorry, lesson 9, level 2's workbook. And Anahat meditation lessons, workbook and audio recordings, the Anahat teachings. So we went around level 1 from the 1 o'clock position all the way around, right, to the 12 o'clock position. So level 1 has 12 meditations. Level 2 essentially has the same 12 meditations, but instead of looking at them in the physical level, more or less, we start only focusing on the energetic level. So lesson 9, this could be taught in different ways, but lesson 9 is essentially reviewing meditations 1 through 6 on the energetic level, and telling you how to focus your mind and to not get too caught up in precision here. I'll talk to you about some kind of fancy geometric words, but I'm not a geometer, right? I didn't major in geometry in college. I'm not a mathematician. You're probably not either. And I don't want you to have to think that detailed because you're going to see possible inconsistencies. They're not inconsistencies, actually. It's just that the geometries are more complex than you need to know in basic meditation. So I'll explain that as we move along. So when we start again, right now you're doing meditation. So it goes from 12 to 13, right? The next number after 12. So here, if you look where the cursor is, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's what we're doing again, moving through to the next level. And you could consider this like a fractal, right? That if you go really deep into it, you're going to find the same grids. And if you pull back really far, you're going to find the same grids. And the idea of this being fractal geometry is actually extremely relevant here. The more you study that, or just not study it, but watch the videos of the Mandelbrot set or the Julia set, and see how they turn the mathematics into graphics, and watching what does the Mandelbrot equation look like when you can visualize it through a computer. And you can see when you zoom in, there's that original geometry. You zoom out, there's the original geometry. That idea is very much what's happening here, and I'll work to explain it as we go. All right, the copyright again, that's mostly just to remind everybody not to teach this until you're certified to do so. You can see now, you could say, oh, I know level 1, I'm ready to teach it. You have no idea where it's going if you only know level 1. So you can't teach it until you've been through all the levels. And then again, we haven't even decided with this current group exactly how and when we'll launch you into teaching it on your own, because obviously it goes pretty deep. So basically just don't teach this on your own. And again, if you're watching this recording and you haven't been through all of level 1, just stop right now and go to level 1. All right, so here, it's very hard on a computer screen, at least from my level of graphic design, or the amount of time, honestly, I'm willing to put into this, or money to hire graphic designers. You're just gonna have to do your best to visualize this to the best of your ability. I might go to screen share if I need to show you some of the geometric imagery. When I designed all this, I didn't design the system, but when I did all these grids and all the computer design stuff to make this happen, like the picture on the screen, that was done around 2005. The internet was really non-existent for me. I had a little laptop, God knows how unpowerful that was compared to what I have now. And I really didn't have the internet. So when I did my research, it was like going to a library. And if I wanted to learn about a mathematical or geometrical grid, I had to look it up in a geometry book in the library. So now I'm like, I want to see some pictures of star tetrahedrons. And I just go to YouTube, I look at images, and they're all there. I didn't have that when I put this together. I wanted to watch a YouTube video today on some of these geometries just to refresh my mind about some of the words that I don't often use for these geometrical shapes. And like, there's all these great videos on YouTube that didn't even exist in 2005. So please remember, this stuff was designed, not the system, but all the glyphs you're looking at, this workbook was made in 2005. So you want to visualize what's on the screen here in 3 dimensions. What you're looking at is Metatron's cube, and the only real addition is the arc of the heart shape and the circle itself, the circle from crown to tailbone. But basically it's Metatron's cube, and that is not just a 2-dimensional glyph. It is 3 dimensions. So when you look at the ascending triangle, for instance, you want to start to visualize that as an ascending tetrahedron. And what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about today are exactly where the anatomical points when we talk about 3 dimensions. But the real essence of level 2, and I don't think I really grasped this, honestly, 15 years ago, it's not geometry for the sake of geometry. It's not geometry for the sake of the health benefits of aligning your body with this. It's following the grids back to their source and saying, okay, if the grids help to make my physical body, and they help to make my physical body look like it does, right, all the proportions of a physical body, the grids help to make your etheric body look like it does. But the question is, what does your etheric body look like? And as you start putting your attention on the 3-dimensional grids, you want to start asking yourself, what does my etheric body look like? It's not that it looks like anything necessarily, because it is influenced completely by your mind and who you believe yourself to be. So next week, assuming we get to it next week, I think we will, when we get to part 2 of level 2, we're going to be talking about the wings. And you might want to contemplate, what do those look like when we're not just looking at a heart shape? Like, what would your wings look like? And the sphere, or I'm sorry, let's say the circle that's around your body in that picture, it's a sphere, right? So if you close your eyes, let's do this. Close your eyes. As my teacher in India would say in his Indian accent, close the eyes. See, close your eyes, close the eyes, and go to your head first. Just focus on the sphere of your head. Your head, the body, the skull. The physical skull is not perfectly round, of course, but you can imagine a sphere around your head. You can imagine a circle. But now just go 3 dimensions and imagine a sphere around your head. The sphere itself is what you can call a known distance. You can find more or less the center of that sphere and be aware of the space that sphere contains. That sphere is the circle essentially at your head. Now go down to your hearts, and the same size sphere is at your hearts. It's as wide as the nipples would be, depending on where your nipples are, but generally, that exact distance is the same size as your head. But now it's not just a circle there, it's a sphere. And then go down below your navel to your tailbone. Navel to tailbone is another sphere the same size. There's a core central channel that connects those 3 spheres, but it's not a line, it's a tube. It's a column of lights. And then if you focus from tailbone to crown, there's another sphere. And that's the sphere that's on the screen, but with your eyes closed, see if you can visualize this. So level 1 is a lot about feeling, and it's a lot about the breath. Level 2 is less about the breath, and it's still about feeling, but it has a lot to do with visualization. So it's a practice. You might not be good at visualizing it, but imagine the sphere from tailbone to crown. And then just go up to the head again and imagine the sphere there. And before I go too deep, because I feel where this is going for me, let's open our eyes. All right, welcome back to human. Like what happens if you, I encourage you to open your eyes now, and maybe breathe below your navel into your hara. As I was doing that, I was completely forgetting about the physical world. My entire Sanyam power, let's define that again, all the Sanyam power went to level 2. I start focusing on the grids, on the geometries, and I forget about the physical world. So remember, Sanyam is a combination of 3 things: Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So remember last week I explained Ashtanga Yoga, and those are the 8 limbs of yogic practice. The latter 3, the last 3, are Dharana, concentration, Dhyan, meditation, and Samadhi. So Sanyam is the combination of Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. The yogi, the meditator, develops intense, concentrated power. And one of you emailed me about the ability, I'll keep this simple, but the ability to take the Sanyam power and to focus on very, very small anatomical structures like your neurons or different aspects of the brain. And I'm not going to comment on that right now. If anybody's curious on that, you could email me. But generally, I'm like, that's fine. And we talked about that's the Vitark level. You're on the physical level. If you're focusing on physical, small or big anatomical structures, right? You could focus on your stomach. You could focus like your literal actual physical stomach or your actual physical liver. That's fine, but that's not the goal of the practice, right? The geometries aren't really the goal either. So you want to understand that we're using the geometries to trace, to bring our awareness back to source, because we go from the more dense to the more subtle. Level 1 focuses very much on the dense physical body, the breath, and 2 dimensions. Level 3 focuses on the etheric body, the very subtle breath or the breath within the breath, and it's really focused on 3-dimensional geometric grids. What you're doing is you're taking the intense concentrated power of level 1, which you could, if you didn't have level 1, you couldn't do level 2. And you're taking the intense concentrated power and you're focusing on the energetic grids. As you do that, like as I'm aware of the sphere, the larger sphere from tailbone to crown, and then I go to the sphere at the head, I'm not actually focusing on my head. I'm focusing on that known distance. Now, known distance is an important idea to relate to Sanyam power. Known distance is how big your consciousness essentially is and where your consciousness is. All right, and this practice seems really subtle, but as I start explaining it, I realize it's actually extremely deep and requires a lot of explanation, so bear with me. Consciousness can be as small as an atom and as big as the universe, and that's literally true. It's in the Yoga Sutras, I've experienced it myself, and I want you to start to grasp it right now. So how big is your consciousness, and what level of reality or where are you focusing your consciousness? So put all your attention right now, let's just use the tip of your index finger. Just put all your attention right there on your own finger. So don't look at me, just look at your finger. And narrow down to just the fingernail. Just focus on the fingernail. Or pick any other part of your body if you need to. And then just go even, I'm looking at like the cuticle area. And I'm even looking at just like a little bit of, just like, tiny little points there. There's little bits of skin or whatever. Just narrow your attention down that small. Now, focus on your whole hand. You just contracted and expanded your consciousness. Now focus on your whole body, from toes to head and your arms and legs. Now you have to get bigger. So you as consciousness can get as small as an atom or as big as the universe. That's what the yogis mean. But that's what you're doing there is while you're in your body. Your focus is through your eyeballs. Remember last time I alluded to the term Vyutan Vritti. Vyutan is externally oriented consciousness, and you can focus on the whole night sky, and you can look back in time, because that's what you're doing when you look at the stars, right? It took all those millions of years for the light to get to you, so you're literally seeing the past, and you're looking at the past of many, many different stars that occurred at different times, because it took the light different times to get to you, right? So you're looking at the universe when you look out in the night sky, and you can make your consciousness that big. But that's still with the limits of the human body. When you're out of your body, the same rules apply, but you're not limited to your body. So you can make your consciousness literally as small as an atom or literally as big as the universe. And that's cosmic consciousness, literally. Not just that you're observing part of the universe. In cosmic consciousness, you experience yourself as universe. Now, my experience of that, and I think anybody's really, is limited, but we have those abilities. So I've been out of my body. I've seen the Earth, I've seen the moon, I've seen other planets, I've seen galaxies. I've been much bigger than this solar system, but it's so big, it's hard to, it's terrifying. You really have to get used to the idea that there are no limitations to who you are. You are completely free. You are still as God created you. Your body has never limited your freedom to fly outside of the body, your power. You've never lost power. You're the same conscious energy that is the source of the whole universe. All right, so you're just starting to transition your consciousness now to not really who you are as spirit on the most subtle level yet, but consciousness absolutely alludes to that. You're transferring your consciousness to the etheric level and to the etheric plane, and focusing on the subtle geometries will by default force you to do that. You won't even necessarily know what's happening. One night when you're floating above your bed, you're like, oh, I see where he was going with this. It's going to start happening naturally. But I can't tell you when it will occur, because it might not be a good time in your life for it to occur. And no matter how much you try, it's just not going to happen. But we're not on out-of-body experience yet anyway. That's level 3. Right now, level 2, I'm just helping you to understand your consciousness can get big and small, and it can focus really where you want it to be, or it can get very diffuse. So we're learning to not be caught in the past, to not be caught in the future, and to not be caught in make-believe, right? Most people's minds, most people's minds are completely untrained, and their thoughts, if you could, I wouldn't even want to think about it, but if you could drop into the thoughts of the average human being, there's no present moment at all. They're only in the past and only in the future, and they're living in complete fiction. You really want to grasp that depending on where your mind is, you might be able to relate. But I can tell you, as I meditate, there's virtually no past or future, and I know that that's an illusion, so when it comes up, I let it go. When I'm meditating in these grids, they're right here now, but they're not physical. So I'm transferring my consciousness there. Now, let me give you an example of transferring consciousness, because with the out-of-body experience, that's crucial. Your left hand, you can focus on right now. Just put your attention on your left hand, all right? Just all your awareness there. Nothing but left hand. Just left hand, left hand. Now, you are totally unaware of your right knee at that moment, right? Now put your attention on your right knee. Keep putting your attention on your right knee until you forget about your left hand. Eventually, you'll forget about your left foot. I said that intentionally, right? You weren't even thinking of your left foot. What you forget about doesn't exist in your awareness. It exists, relatively speaking, but it doesn't exist in your awareness. When you're out of your body doesn't exist. In deep samadhi, your body doesn't exist. Does it cease to exist? It's just as unreal as it was before you went into samadhi. In A Course in Miracles, it talks about the end of time, what happens when time and space cease to exist. And it says like the illusion goes right where the illusion always was. Illusions don't exist. All right, what happens when you wake up from a bad dream? Well, where was that dream in the first place? It only existed in the mind of the dreamer. It was make-believe, right? It was your dreams are imagination, right? You're not making it up. You could say you're subconscious or whatever is making up your dreams. But they don't exist in physical reality and they don't exist in absolute reality. So really, they're make-believe, they're imagination, they're illusion. Your body is that. I know it seems so real, but please remember, in A Course in Miracles, God did not create your body, and God did not create the world that you see. God does not create perception, and your body is in the realm of perception. It's so important to realize this is the matrix. You're just, I don't want to say most people, I don't know, but I think most people are completely caught in the human illusion. But your simple ability to make your consciousness big or small and to put your consciousness where you want it is the key to, let's just say, escaping. Now, escape isn't a great word because it implies that that's the goal of the path. There's a great book by the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron called The Wisdom of No Escape. And Buddhism is not about escaping, and there's tremendous wisdom in that path. And Anahat can go there for sure. But Buddha was not a fan of out-of-body experience. And I'm going to tell you, once we get to those teachings, the benefits and the traps of that kind of thing. If you consider what we're doing now as escapism, that would be a trap. But you are literally extracting your consciousness from the physical vehicle. And you are going to learn to transfer your consciousness to the etheric and astral vehicle. And then eventually, you'll learn to drop the etheric and astral vehicle and only travel as the soul or as pure spirit with only your mind and not really even your conscious, rational thinking mind. You don't lose rational. So again, every word is so important. Rational stays with you to the end, but not your analytical, reasoning, conscious, adult ego state. Right? Your conscious mind in that sense that you normally know it is not there on those higher levels. But you're still there, and you don't sacrifice anything. You don't lose anything. So we're moving from the more dense to the more subtle, and the subtle, or let's just say these subtle geometries are not the goal, and escaping is not the goal. And if you've never been in long-term nirvikalpa samadhi, you can't even grasp the goal, honestly. It's not going to be what you think it is. The out-of-body experiences can be very misleading because they give this idea that you're this individual finite self. And they're really important. But as cosmic conscious experiences start, and then eventually we'll talk about ascension level 3, we talk about ascension. If you haven't ascended, it's not what you think it is. There's, in A Course in Miracles, it says, if you want to know what the peace of God is, nothing you've ever experienced in the past is that. There's nothing you can grasp with your mind that is that. And even if you think you get some sense like you have an out-of-body experience, like, whoa, I'm a spiritual being, that's not enlightenment yet. So the goal, really, the goal of all this is enlightenment with a capital E. Like what happened to Buddha under the Bo tree. And remember, Buddha did not care about out-of-body experiences to guide you to that. But there are many paths to the top of the mountain, and this isn't formal Buddhism, nor is it any one formal tradition, but it is Anahat meditation. And I believe I can say with total sincerity, and I believe I'm accurate, this path is meant to bring you to enlightenment. When I was researching monasteries to live out in my early days, I forget the book, but it was a whole book of all the monasteries. And it talked about, like, in each monastery, they had to write down to be in this book, what is your intention? Like, why do you go to this monastery? And one of the ones I chose to go to, it said enlightenment. It was the only one that did. Everybody else had all these other ideas, whatever they were. But this one I'm not mentioning the place now specifically, you might know what I mean, but whatever. The point is, the goal is enlightenment, and enlightenment is not an out-of-body experience. Enlightenment is not even cosmic consciousness, but when you start having these experiences, you are much closer to knowing who you are. And I wouldn't teach it if I didn't think it was beneficial. Like for instance, I had an email today from a student. She said, Buddhism doesn't teach about forgiveness, but A Course in Miracles does. Can you explain the difference and why? And I did. And just because Buddha didn't emphasize it, it doesn't mean it's not valuable. The Buddha didn't emphasize the internet, right? He didn't emphasize driving a car. He didn't emphasize forgiveness. He didn't emphasize love. The Buddha didn't emphasize love. He emphasized compassion. So it's not that there's not value to the other things that are not found in other traditions. I want you to understand that as I move you into level 2 and 3, that there's a place for this stuff, even though you don't find it in every tradition, or even if somebody as great as Buddha said you don't have to do out-of-body experience. And it could actually be misleading. It can be misleading, just like past life regressions and hypnotherapy can be misleading, but they could also be extremely valuable, right? So you want to understand when things have their proper place. Okay, again, these disclaimers, it's kind of like starting the whole system again. You know, it took me 2.5 hours to explain level 1 to get you started. I think it's worth priming you for level 2 the way we have been. We did 3 hours last time, and we're going to take as long as we need to today. Okay, so look on the screen again and just visualize that as 3 dimensions. When you see the circles, all right, there's 13 circles, more actually. I guess there's 14 circles technically in the screen, but Metatron's cube is made of 13 circles. Visualize those as spheres and do it right now. So there's a sphere, and there's a sphere for your head, and there's a sphere at your throat. Your throat chakra is a sphere, and there's spheres for your shoulders, right? The ball and socket of your shoulder, there's a sphere there. It's not a circle, right? And then there's a sphere just outside of that. So start to visualize all these 13 spheres around your body. This is why I said earlier, we're going to get into some fancy geometry, not numbers, but imagery. And don't be too precise about it. Like you don't need to email me and say, but is it octahedron or I never say this, icosahedron or a hexahedron or dodecahedron? It doesn't matter. That's way too precise for our purposes, okay? There's a reason to study the Platonic solids and to study geometry. But when you're focused on enlightenment, when you're focused on the highest, that kind of discussion is unnecessary. So I'll point out some, not inconsistencies, like I said before, but a limited understanding of what I knew 15 years ago about this whole system. Okay, so basically, from this point on, when you're doing level 2, focus on 3 dimensions. But I say when you're doing level 2 because I'm going to encourage you to keep doing a lot of level 1 and then just gradually move into level 2. Don't make it the majority of your practice right now until you really get a sense of what it's going to be like to be ungrounded and to barely be in your body. I'll give you one tip as we're moving forward. The grids do permeate the human form, but they surround the human form. And when you're moving into level 3, the grids kind of come out of the human form. So sometimes it's harder to visualize a sphere when the body is right there and the sphere is right there. But I can move the grids out and feel the grids outside of my body. And then I put my attention there. The Sanyan power goes to the grids outside of the body. If you start doing that, which you probably will do in level 2, you do that for a half hour, you won't be focused in your body. Do that for a few hours at night while you're lying in bed, you're going to be coming out of your body. Because I can't warn you enough about how uncomfortable that can be in daily life. So practice a lot of level 1 and go slow with level 2. Again, it's not like there's necessarily harm, but some of you have reported nausea, discomfort, hot, cold, sweaty stuff, your body can really experience discomfort in my lower abdomen when I extract the etheric and astral grids from the physical. Yeah, there's a point, especially right when I'm leaving my body, it hurts. It makes me want to come back in sometimes. It's like a sharp stabbing pain in the liver. In Chinese medicine, the spirit is broken down into five aspects, five qualities. And one is called the Shen. The Shen is kind of like your soul, your consciousness, and it's said to live in the heart. The Hun, H-U-N, I don't know if I said that properly in Chinese, so I try to give some funny sound to it, but the H-U-N, the Hun, is said to live in your liver. When I leave my body, I literally can feel, not always, but I'll feel in certain kind of projection, I'll feel it's like my astral etheric bodies are being pulled out of the liver. As you're and again, I've been noticing stuff during this time now. So as you're pulling your attention to the three-dimensional grids and contemplating what your etheric and astral body look like, do that for an hour, 2 or 3, and you won't be aware of your physical body much at all. It doesn't mean you have a full-fledged out-of-body experience yet, but you're starting to transfer consciousness to the more subtle bodies. When we get to level 3, I'll teach you how to completely break those off out of coincidence with the physical. So you will transfer to your astral body, and then you will go somewhere else. You will not be in the physical body anymore. It's not kindergarten level spirituality. I listened to a YouTube video the other day on astral projection just for fun, and a total visualization. That woman has never been out of her body. If she did, the meditation would not sound like that. But, so you can visualize flying around the universe or flying around your bedroom. But visualizing that, while it's not an out-of-body experience, because out-of-body is like, if like I'm sitting in my car and I visualize going for a hike up the mountain, visualizing hiking up the mountain is not the same as hiking up the mountain, right? You want to understand visualization is not out-of-body experience. Dreaming of flying is not out-of-body experience. Lucid dreaming of flying is not out-of-body experience. We're getting a lot closer. If you're lucid dreaming about flying, you're getting a lot closer. But anyway, that's level 3 when we talk about all that. The point is we're moving towards that. And you want to understand what you're getting into. Okay, so out-of-body experiences are real. When you focus on the subtle geometries and the bodies that they manifest, you got the etheric grid, but then you have an etheric body. The more you contemplate it, the more real it's going to become for you. And then as you transfer your awareness into it, eventually you'll be in it more than your physical body. And again, that's kind of misleading too, because they're all integrated right now while you're here. But as you visualize the etheric coming out of the physical, and then you transfer your awareness into the etheric, when you do totally break coincidence from the physical, you will fly away from the physical body. That's real. I could be totally delusional, but I think the truth is most people are delusional and this stuff is real. So, do it. Experiment as you're ready, and then email me with your experiences. And eventually, we'll be cataloging those to show, yeah, people are having these experiences. I definitely have taught out-of-body travel since I was 23 years old. And a lot of my students have had out-of-body experiences. But those of you who've been through our hypnotherapy training, that doesn't even come close to teaching everything I know about out-of-body travel. So a lot of our hypnotherapy students probably haven't had the experience. They may have visualized it and thought they did. But the real experience, you literally are not in your body anymore. Just like if you get out of your car and go for that hike, you're not in your car anymore. Visualization practice is not the out-of-body experience. Visualizing flying around the universe is not actually flying around the universe. Okay, so the image here, you want to see 3-dimensional grids, and you're going to start to forget about the physical body. You're going to focus on the etheric body. Moving on. We have our table of contents. Let me just look at these. I wrote this 15 years ago. I read it today. But honestly, I haven't read it in 15 years except for today. We're going to explain levels of practice. There's a lot of excerpts from the journals of Michael Devane. They weren't all italics, but it was just so much italics. I turned it back to print, the regular non-italicized text. energetics, again, everything in this level. So I'll show you level, the meditation 13 is descending again, but it's descending energetics. Heart-centered is meditation 2, but meditation 14, heart-centered energetics. Ascending energetics, sexual energy and circulation energetics, and then meditation 18, the six-pointed star energetics. And again, the attention is barely on the physical, barely with the breath. And when I practice level 2, I do not count the breaths. Today before class, as I was meditating, waiting for you guys to show up, I was doing mantras. I was enjoying and sound vibration. I was vibrating sound through toning. You might know that term, toning. You could research that. Vibrating sacred sounds in the grids. And those of you who are into sound healing and whatnot, I think you'll really appreciate level 2 in that way. Okay, so, much more subtle and much more advanced than most people are ready for. Okay, yeah, and then we do have recordings for this lesson 9 and the guided meditations that lead you through 18. I will have to do those for lesson 10 and meditations, the latter meditations for next week class, because I don't have those recordings anymore, at least not here with me in California right now. Okay, here's the introduction, which I've already given you to this whole thing. You could say this is the star tetrahedron. Again, it might be kind of debatable. Remember, I'm very humbly, honestly saying I'm not a mathematician. I'm sure there are mistakes, but none of that matters. So again, I don't need an email saying, hey, that's not a star tetrahedron, that's a whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not that precise while you're visualizing it. And I think back 15 years ago, I kind of thought it was that precise because, well, I know the goal and I've experienced a lot of the goal. I understand better now. So anyway, when you look here, if you look at the cursor, you have the top of the shoulders, right, on the physical body. So here's, let's say, your right shoulder, your left shoulder. But then you have this other point here, and it's very hard to see that in 2 dimensions. But as I go through, I'll point out the anatomical locations on the physical body, and those will be really helpful in helping you to feel and visualize where the actual grids are. And it's not even the exact precision of the lines as we move along. For instance, meditation 13, descending energetics, focuses on what's called the lower descending tetrahedron. So here, if you look, you're going to see this whole area. Actually, this whole area, really. So here we have the outer points at the level of the hips, or the kidneys, you might say. So again, not that precise, right? I said hips and kidneys. You could totally pull that apart about where they actually are. It's that general area. Same with the grids. Their names, is it an octahedron or a hexahedron? I mean, that's a big difference, but you never need to debate that stuff. That would be a lack of understanding of why we do it. Okay, so here we have a triangle. I'm saying that intentionally, right? If you look in a flat plane, there's a triangle from the 2 points of the hips, and then technically this point is the navel, but it's so hard to describe. I'll work to show you on the cushion as well. But this top of this triangle goes down to the base, and that's what's forming a descending lower tetrahedron. You have the larger one here, which is outside the confines of the body, and you have the smaller one here inside the confines of the body. But now you just want to see that as a tetrahedron, not as just a triangle. By visualizing the tetrahedron, you force yourself to think on the etheric level instead of the physical level. So it's pacing you through the stages of samadhi by default, right? You go from vitark, the physical focus, to vichar, the mental focus. When you're 100% one with these grids on that level, that would be vichar samadhi. It's not the only way to be in vichar samadhi, but as far as these geometries, it is. So focusing on the actual grids, and keep looking at the image on the screen, and let it like unfold or unpack in your mind, if you will, of what all this would look like in 3 dimensions, right? Imagine here, shoulders, but then it comes out to this point. You could say that's the heart, but not if you saw that triangle at the level of the shoulders. Then we'd actually be focusing on T2, thoracic vertebrae 2, at the level of your clavicles. So imagine the whole shoulder girdle. It is three-dimensional, right? Your body is three-dimensional. The grids are even bigger, three-dimensional. It's not my job to tell you the exact anatomical points. It's your job to meditate on that. All right, so what I wrote in this training manual here, whatever I'll say today, is not as complete as your own revelations, because you're going to be like, all right, let me focus on the triangle, the flat plane triangle here, right? Because you got a tetrahedron going down, and I'll show you an image of a tetrahedron that'll help. But the top of that three-dimensional triangle, a tetrahedron, has a flat base, has a flat top. And where does it go? So I kind of feel it as clavicles and then back. But it's not only that. Because, here's the thing, here's a little secret. You may have heard this already. The tetrahedrons rotate. If you haven't heard that, then this is your entire star tetrahedral field rotates. And I'm not really focusing on that now because that's really complicated. But once you find these grids, you'll discover that they can spin. And that's really, that'll be level 3. Let's just hold off on any reference to that beyond what I just said. So if you're too precise about, the descending, this triangle here goes back to the back of your spine, well, it's so much bigger than that. But you will see the body reflecting the geometries. But again, you're focusing on the geometries and meditating on them. The most complex one is the region of the heart. Like, what's going on in there? And only recently did I, as I started teaching level 2 again, did I have to start asking, is it an octahedron? Is it a hexahedron? Is it a dodecahedron? The answer is yes, actually. So I'll work to explain that. But let's go back for a moment to Metatron's cube. In Metatron's cube, you have all 5 Platonic solids. I'll show you what those are and explain them a little bit. And actually read to you a little bit because it's not my field. Right? You really have to be into geometry to care about that stuff that much. And on a height, you don't have to care about that much. But as you're focusing on, wow, like look how complex the geometry is in the region of the heart. You're being asked to visualize that. And yeah, there's a star tetrahedron, because remember, we got a star within a star. So this area here, chin, shoulders, navel, really just that, from chin to navel, and then shoulders, and then, touch upon the arms here. That's a shape. And what shape is it? Well, it's a 6-pointed star, but it means it's a star tetrahedron. But inside of that, we also have an octahedron, an isosahedron, a dodecahedron. All 5 Platonic solids are actually in there. And it's just your job to contemplate that, to marvel at what's in your being. Like, it's your body is designed on this stuff, and it's not just this simple 2-dimensional grid. And it's not as simple as 3 dimensions. So this is just level 2. All right, so do your best, practice visualizing this in 3 dimensions, and we'll move on. So here we have the initial chart of the levels. We did level 1, meditations 1 through 12. We have the 12 names, and we did that in 8 lessons. We could have done 12 lessons, but as you could tell, we didn't have to do 8 and 9, upper and lower body meridians in 2 different lessons. And here, because you know enough about the system, I think, again, this is the first time I'm teaching level 2. I think that's accurate. I really don't ever remember teaching any students level 2 officially. Then I believe we should be able to do meditations 13 to 18 in lesson 9. And the next time when we meet, ideally we'll be doing 19 to 24 in lesson 10. So, all right, I was able to open the chat pod. Someone typed that star in the heart region has started to appear on its own. Nice, awesome. It will and it should because it's all there. All right, so you don't really get what's totally happening when you're doing level 1, but by default, like when you visualize, when you breathe into the ascending triangle, you do kind of want to visualize that triangle. But then you realize, it's not a triangle, it's a tetrahedron. And then where does it actually begin? That's why level 2 can kind of be, excuse me, the chat pod's covering my camera there, at least on my screen. So where does the descending triangle begin? Does it really start at your shoulders? That's only where it starts to manifest itself physically or etherically. It actually is much, much, much bigger. And that's part of why the precision doesn't matter. Because if you get too caught up in, all right, it's the acromial processes of the shoulder and it's thoracic vertebrae too. No, it's not your physical body at all. And it's not your etheric body at all. There's a much bigger grid going on, which you might see as macrocosmic. Right? Think about our planet. Your planet you're sitting on right now is a sphere, and therefore it has a three-dimensional six-pointed star, a star tetrahedron in the planet. But did it start at just where the Earth starts? No, not at all. There's this huge descent of energy coming down to manifest that sphere. Technically, that is a bit theoretical, but it would make sense, right? That's macrocosmic just on the Earth scale, not even on the whole galaxy or the universe scale, and as above, so below. So your body is the microcosm of a much bigger reality. And those grids do not begin and end with any anatomical location in your body. Your body is just the physical manifestation of subtle geometry, but very powerful and very real geometry. Okay, so let's look on the right. Meditation numbers. Each meditation has a corresponding number. There are 12 core meditations and 12 energetic meditations. Once we get to level 3, we go beyond the geometries, and therefore they're not really as relevant anymore. The geometries guide us into the out-of-body experiences, into enlightenment, into samadhi, into the deepest levels of samadhi. But the benefits along the way are so worth it, and the benefits coming back in are so worth it. That's why I feel like I have to teach the system. It's not like you can't learn samadhi somewhere else, but you won't learn it with the sacred geometry stuff here. And you can study sacred geometry somewhere else, but you might not learn samadhi or all the other things we do. So it's important to remember the system is extremely holistic, but as we get into level 3, we're barely even focused on the physical anymore. Okay, so lesson number. Meditations are learned individually or in groups. A lesson can consist of working on one or more meditations or teachings at a given time. Advanced lessons are learned and practiced as you gain proficiency in the preceding lessons. And then levels. There are 4 levels. So level 2 I've talked a lot about. Level 3, we'll probably... I was going to say we'll do in one lesson, but there's no way. I know all this stuff is easy, but no, once I start teaching, I realize how much there is to know. We'll do another class in samadhi. We'll need another 2+ hours for that. Astral projection, I used to teach that in a 20-hour block, literally Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So that could be a long process. Advanced astral energy practices, I thought about that today. It's definitely worth a 2-hour class at least. And then Cosmic Conscious Ascension is worth a 2-hour class. So level 3 could be quite a while. And then we'll do at least 2 hours on the certified teacher, just to give you a sense of how much more is coming your way. Okay, so right now we're on lesson 9, meditations 13 to 18. And the names of the things the meditations are all the same. We just have the word energetic next to it, energetics. All right, I won't read all this, of course. This is from the Journals of Michael Devane. It's largely the teacher, John, who of course is me, teaching the system to the lead character, Michael. And the references that are very specific about anatomical location, like the hara, tetrahedron, ascending upper triangle, all that stuff is found in what's coming later. So please read all this on your own. And again, don't hold me to exact, precise geometry. It ends saying the star tetrahedron is the basic underlying geometry of creation. It is the essence of our bodies as being created in the image and likeness of God. Through the mastery of its energies, we become pure expressions of divinity on this earth. When I talk, especially as Matthew, I don't always say those kind of things, but in my books or in deep meditation, I can let go of being politically correct or try not to appear too hokey. And what I write there is sincerely what I mean, even though I might not always speak that way. So I definitely hope you'll read that, and definitely listen to the online audio that's in that section of the 2005 audio recordings for lesson 9. And there's the guided meditation that guides you through all the way from meditation 1 up to meditation 18. Okay, so energetics. We really covered that by having you close your eyes and visualize the sphere or the spheres instead of seeing it in 3 dimensions. So start focusing when you do level 2, because you don't always have to do level 2, and you should probably be doing a lot of level 1, like I said, like mostly still focus on level 1. Just know level 2 exists, and the day you say, all right, I did all 12 meditations, I'm moving on to meditation 13, you're just going to shift from physical to etheric geometrical, and then you'll be visualizing the sphere, the triangle, the descending tetrahedron, and basically breathing into that. Okay, so that'll just happen over time. And again, we're talking any really solid spiritual path should take you 10 plus years. So if you really never grasp level 2 for 5 or 10 years, don't worry about it. Doing level 1 will merge you into level 2. If you've ever practiced Ashtanga yoga, I'm saying it with those A's because it's a style of yoga that's like the power yoga, but it's officially the yoga system of Sri Pattabhi Jois. They have actually 4 levels. They don't relate to this. No, I'm sorry, they have 5 levels. And doing level 1 helps to move you into level 2. You couldn't just go to level 2 of Ashtanga yoga. And again, there's no real correlation when I use those terms. It's just Sri Pattabhi Jois designed this powerful warrior style of yoga, the very intense power yoga, and he called it Ashtanga yoga. But anyway, there's 5 levels, and they build upon themselves. And you would always be doing level 1. Even if you start doing level 2 poses, which are quite advanced, you still do a lot of level 1. And then most people never even make it to levels 3, 4, and 5. And you probably have to start as a kid. You'd have to be doing it your whole life to be able to do level 5 of Ashtanga yoga. Again, there's no correlation to what I taught last week, like minimal correlation, as far as the body postures go, to what we learned last week about Ashtanga yoga of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Just want you to be really clear as I'm giving you all these terms. So anyway, you can do level 1 and start moving into level 2, but don't feel like you drop level 1 ever and start focusing on level 2. Just teaching you how to do it. Eventually you'll move into it because level 1 will progress so well for you. Level 2 will become natural, but never really let go of level 1, especially as you advance, because you need to know how to get back into your body completely. All right, the 5 Platonic solids. I am not qualified to teach these. I'm not a mathematician. I'm just giving you the basic understanding I have to help us to do the meditation system. The idea is the ancient philosophers had a belief that every single thing in the universe is made out of these forms. I don't know that that's true. There might be some truth to it. I think there is a lot of truth to it. You find these all throughout nature. But most importantly, what you're going to start doing is focusing on them within your own body or outside of your body, if you will, the grids that surround your body, which, like I've been saying, will force you to focus on the visual, the vichara level, the mental level, or etheric, really just anything but physical, right? You're going to focus on energetic, you'll focus on etheric, you'll focus on astral, you'll focus on mental or visualizations or the breath within the breath, the subtle life force beyond the physical breath. All of this is just leading you into that by simply focusing on tetrahedrons instead of triangles. So a tetrahedron, and I'm going to read so I don't make any mistakes, 4 triangular faces, 4 vertices, 6 edges. But focus on here. You got a circle or a sphere, then you have a circle but a sphere, you have another sphere, and then at the back there would be another sphere, or more towards the front actually, depending on how you visualize it. But remember, these tetrahedrons rotate, so to say, all right, we got 2 kidneys and we have a navel. That essentially is the base of this tetrahedron, right? Two kidneys and your navel. And I'll show you when I'm sitting here. I'll just point to those parts of my body. Two kidneys, navel, up to the crown. And as you focus on this, you're like, well, the kidneys are kind of in there, but there's actually these two energetic points back there. And the organs just tend to manifest in that area for whatever reason. And then the navel in the front. But it's hard to describe this on the screen, obviously. Okay, so that's, if you saw that as the ascending tetrahedron. If you flip it over, you have a descending tetrahedron. So here we would see like the collarbones and the thoracic vertebrae, T2. You can feel that it's the most prominent area, the most prominent vertebrae that sticks out of your upper back there, right up into your cervical vertebrae. But again, it doesn't matter for that exact precision. So we could say the shoulders, the acromial processes, the very outer edge of the shoulders, back to the vertebrae. Or you can visualize it forward, but again, I feel it more going back. And then you have an upper ascending tetrahedron that goes up to the head just here. But then we have that whole descending triangle. So let's go back here. Excuse me. Okay. We have a descending lower tetrahedron. The region of the hara is actually a tetrahedron, and so we all have the same terms to use. Descending lower tetrahedron. Then you have an ascending tetrahedron, the large triangle. We have a descending tetrahedron, and then we have the ascending upper tetrahedron. Descending lower tetrahedron, ascending upper tetrahedron, descending lower tetrahedron, descending tetrahedron, and ascending tetrahedron. And you'll see those terms as we look at the training manual. But again, it's complex to talk about when you're practicing. It's just the feeling of this energy here. It's nowhere near as complicated as it sounds. All right, then we have a cube or a hexahedron. 6 square faces, 8 vertices, 12 edges. I never think about those words 6, 8, 12. That's way too complicated. But I will say, I don't see a lot of benefit in focusing on the cube in Anahat. Yes, it's in the region of the star and it surrounds your whole body, but the cube is largely a symbol for Earth. It represents the physical plane. You could visualize it at the first chakra if you want to, but I don't visualize it or feel it or really focus on it in the higher places. But triangles, tetrahedrons, of course, because they represent movements of energy. But the cube is really just first chakra Earth. So even though, yes, it exists in that area, I don't really focus on it. The octahedron is definitely worth commenting on. 8 triangular faces, 6 vertices, and 12 edges. And you can Google the stuff, watch YouTube videos on it if you want to get better imagery that I'm able to give you here. This is a diamond shape, essentially. You have a 4-sided base for the upper, I think you can say tetrahedron, and then you have the lower tetrahedron. Let me show you that here. This is the Sacred Geometry Meditation book. And when you look at the 52-degree pyramid, which is the large triangle of the Sri Yantra template, or when you look at the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is that same geometry, we have, this would be in 3 dimensions, an octahedron. But remember the fractal. So as you have a star, let's see what we got here, right here. So you have an octahedron around this level, even from tailbone to crown, but there would be an octahedron from chin to navel. And on the fractal level, there would be an octahedron from the top of the heart circle to the bottom of the heart circle, and on as you go in. So in this concentric circle model we see here, there could be an octahedron on every single level and a star tetrahedron on every single level. That's why, again, precise anatomy, it really doesn't matter. And when you think about a big descending triangle or tetrahedron, these levels don't matter, but they do when we're transitioning our consciousness from the more dense to the more subtle. The concentric circle model could represent, where is it in the book? Wow. Real quick. It's my book, but I don't read it, so I'm not sure where stuff is. Yeah, we're not going to find that chart quick enough. There's an explanation of the concentric circle model, which is different than the descending model of the chakras or the tree of life, where it goes like from top down. With concentric circles, if you were to imagine the image on the right here, or any of these images in 3 dimensions, the image on the right is a sphere. But imagine the biggest sphere to be God, and then God beyond the beyond, the light of God, and then the divine mind of God, and then the causal mental plane, and then the astral plane, and then the lower astral plane, and then the etheric plane, and then the physical plane. The physical plane being the smallest of all of those. So the physical universe, which essentially could be spherical, who knows, I don't know. But I think, they're kind of tapping into it's probably spherical, maybe flat, I don't know, but whatever. If you imagine the physical universe as this, then the etheric is that, bigger, but more real, more subtle, but more powerful and more real. And then the astral plane. So it's just stuff to start contemplating. Again, you can't relate it to the precise body or to the exact type of geometry, like octahedron or dodecahedron. You don't want to be doing that when you're meditating. But again, the grids obviously have their place in understanding what's going on in the universe. Okay, so octahedron, you can certainly contemplate where is that in your system, and of course tetrahedron. The icosahedron and the dodecahedron, they're very complex. There's no reason to try to figure out all that, but it's certainly there, right? So as you focus on 20 triangular faces, 12 vertices, 30 edges, icosahedron, feel that in your chest. Your entire rib cage is structured on that, but also on the dodecahedron. 12 pentagonal faces, 20 vertices, 30 edges. Again, the ancient philosophers believe that this is the stuff that makes up the whole universe. It's clearly inside the geometries of your body. And when we focus on the heart, the training manual asks you to focus on the octahedron, but really you could certainly focus on a star tetrahedron. So this says tetrahedron, but really it's a star tetrahedron. Okay, so 2 interlacing in equilateral triangles or 2 interlacing tetrahedron. Okay, so we're looking at star tetrahedron, which is not listed on this page, hexahedron, octahedron, icosahedron, I never have to say that, and dodecahedron. Okay, so if you were a mathematician, you taught this stuff in college or whatever, you would know how to pronounce these words. And I hope you can see by mine not actually, after all these years, even knowing how to pronounce this, is only because it's not important, right? But I want to give you some visuals to focus on, but you can see if you're so caught up in, because I've focused on it, is it an octahedron, is it an icosahedron, is it dodecahedron in my heart? There's like a contained area, kind of like a diamond, all the facades of a diamond. Just kind of visualize the facades of a diamond for your heart area, and you got it. But you're not trying to get every exact little facet of that. It's way too complicated. And because we move on, we do meditation 13, descending energetics, we focus on that lower tetrahedron. And then here at the heart, heart-centered energetics, and you can focus on the heart being a dodecahedron, or the heart, that area having an octahedron in there. Or you can actually find, of course, the star tetrahedron in your heart. But once you kind of be with that and contemplate it, you move on to the ascending upper tetrahedron. So you're not even in one area very long to have to focus on that exact precision anyway. I can't emphasize that enough, because my self 15 years ago would have cared more about that, and that might come through in my writings. Okay, next. Here's just a little read because this is not my field. The 5 Platonic solids, tetrahedron, or the star tetrahedron, the cube or hexahedron, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron are ideal primal models of crystal patterns. And you might want to research what crystals are, and that's not our topic now. Crystal patterns that occur throughout the world of minerals in countless variations. These are the only 5 regular polyhedra, that is, the only 5 solids made from the same equilateral, equiangular polygons. To the Greeks, these solids symbolize fire, earth, air, spirit, or ether, and water, respectively. Okay, that could be accurate. I was wondering if that's totally accurate. Let's assume it is. Doesn't matter for our purposes. The cube, and the reason I hesitated is because in the chakra system, the 5 lower chakras also have their own geometries and also relate to the 5 elements. So you could see that corresponding that, but for Anahata purposes, it doesn't matter. The cube and octahedron are duals, meaning that one can be created by connecting the midpoints of the faces of the other. The icosahedron and dodecahedron are the duals of each other. And 3 mutually perpendicular, mutually bisecting golden rectangles can be drawn, connecting their vertices and midpoints respectively. The tetrahedron is a dual to itself. And then you can research more, geometrycode.com, Bruce Royals, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. This is way too complex, but I just wanted to give you a sense that you can certainly research this if you're interested in it. But in meditation, all of those words don't exist. I'm not thinking in samadhi. I don't have the English language running in my head. I'm not trying to contemplate. But there is a difference in meditation between contemplation and concentration. Largely, you've been concentrating on the geometrical grids, or concentrating in your hara, or concentrating in your heart center. But you can contemplate these areas as well. Like, how did that lower area form? Why do you have 2 ovaries going down fallopian tubes into a uterus? Is that how it goes, right? And then through the cervix. I think we're going to read later, or somewhere in my writings, the cervix in Tibetan Buddhism, the symbol for that is a 6-pointed star. Right, so why do you have like 2 testes going up into a penis? Why do we have mons pubis going down as a descending triangle? Right, you can contemplate this stuff. Why is the vagina like a Vesica Pisces? You contemplate it. You put your attention on it and say, why did it develop that way? Why do my shoulders go to the exact points of a descending triangle? Why are the nipples exactly there? So contemplation is more, concentration as well. You're definitely using concentration on level 2. But contemplation to understand intuitively, not mathematically, and that's your thing, but in meditation, intuitively contemplate why different areas of your body relate to certain structures. And like your nose. Like you could say, well, of course it's a descending triangle or ascending triangle, because then the rain doesn't fall into those holes. But it's still a triangle, right? Why is that happening? Why are your eyes Vesica Pisces? So the more you contemplate, why are the ears a golden spiral? That's contemplation. Okay, so you got a tetrahedron, a star tetrahedron, octahedron on this page. I think I explained enough here for what is the star tetrahedron, but remember the online audio recordings made in 2005 that explain this. We'll take you through the training manual, and you'll hear me say other things when we get to page 10 there. All right, let's go into the meditations. Meditation number 13, descending energetics. Remember, it's all 3-dimensional now, and I'm going to even probably stop saying triangle, or I'm sorry, I'm going to stop saying tetrahedron. I'm probably just going to say triangle, but you must understand if I say triangle, I definitely mean tetrahedron now. So the descending tetrahedron goes down to a sphere in the region of the hara. You want to start just visualizing and feeling and sensing and breathing into. Same thing, we're just going down to the hara, but now we're focusing on that sphere. I also encourage you to focus on those descending lines more, but now realize there's not only 2 lines, there's 3 lines. If it's 3-dimensional, which it obviously is, 3 lines come down to that area. Okay, and now it doesn't necessarily follow the golden triangle patterns because it's not that limited. It's following all of these grids, but the grids don't start here, right? There's this huge vortex of energy coming down into your body, right? Abraham Hicks, to be in your vortex, that vortex doesn't have a beginning or an end. Okay, so when we're visualizing this coming down, yeah, there's 3 lines, but again, it's just not physical anymore. So it's your job just to be with it for years, contemplating these flows of energy. Meditation number 1, descending. Remember, this stuff was written 15 plus years ago. So how I explained it then is not necessarily how I explain it now if we didn't have these teachings, but we do. So let's see what I wrote. Meditation number 1, descending. The top line of the descending triangle begins, remember there's meditation 1, level 1, and then we're looking at meditation 13, descending energetics. Okay, so this is stuff you already know. Meditation 1, descending. The top line of the descending triangle begins at the shoulders and is physically represented by the clavicles. The 2 angled lines run from the acromial extremity of the clavicles, the very outer edge, acromial process or extremity, whatever the right way to say it is, of the clavicles, and descend to the tailbone. The small circle at the base of this triangle represents the hara, located about 2 inches below the navel. That's as if your hara is just one little point, but it's the center of that circle. But now, that area is the center of the sphere. But where's the exact center of that sphere? It's not just at the front of your body, because your body is 3-dimensional. It's not asking you to focus on anything more than what's already there. It's just a lot harder to really contemplate things in 3 dimensions. Okay. Meditation number 13, descending energetics. Inhalations and exhalations into the descending lower tetrahedron. Right, so here we're focusing on the triangle in this lower region, but the tetrahedron in this lower region, which includes the sphere. Focus on pure white light for the lines of the structure and fill it with light, as with all energetic meditations. Again, the awareness is on grounding. We still want to know what it's like to come down to the lower part of our etheric body, which isn't necessarily etheric feet, but just like the base. Really, what the etheric body is where your chakras are. It's where the meridians are. So you're not just visualizing the physical body anymore. You're thinking, what's there etherically? And when you breathe into the hara, it's not necessarily the hara, it's your second chakra. But your second chakra is not your body. So I know it's complicated, but I'm asking you just to learn to meditate on your chakras for real, not on the physical location of the second chakra. So you can visualize the colors of the chakras, and you can visualize, as the writing here says, the lines of force as white light, and then you can visualize the area that you're focusing on filling with white light. In the end, well, not in the end, when you get out of your body, you probably won't see these energy grids, but you will see your etheric body. Just like when you're in your physical body, you don't see the grids, but you got a physical body. When you're out of your physical body and your etheric body, you have an etheric body. But I don't see these grids when I'm out of my body. So I believe we are visualizing them, but we don't have to visualize an etheric body. You have an etheric body. It is influenced by these grids, but the grids they're more subtle than the etheric body is. So when you get out of here, they're more subtle than the physical body. So as you're visualizing the descending lower triangle or descending lower tetrahedron in that area, there's a sphere, but that sphere is very much the region of your second chakra, but you also have a first chakra down there. You're just being asked to put all your attention on the etheric, energetic anatomy and these etheric grids, or the geometry grids, and imagining them as white light lines, and the whole thing filling with white light. All right, I'm going to go through all of them, then we'll definitely do question and answer. But essentially, that's meditation 13. Meditation number 14, heart-centered energetics. Don't worry about this complex glyph on the right. It's probably accurate, but the idea is focusing on the heart is very complex. And like I said earlier, you don't have to be that complex about it. Meditation number 2, remember again, we have level 1. So this level 1, heart-centered. When you go to level 2, you are shifting, which you kind of always will from this point on. You'll always be aware when you're breathing at your heart. So what I do is I think to myself, okay, level 1. And then I focus largely on the physical and the breath, and I might even be counting my breaths. Level 2, I automatically shift up to the energetic grid. So shift down to level 1, heart-centered. The small circle in the center of the symbol represents the region of the heart chakra. Its center is located on the midline of the sternum at the level of the 4th intercostal space between the 2 nipples. Intercostal means between the ribs. The star itself represents the union of ascending and descending at the heart, the place where the human and the divine are one. Energy is pulled from the hara to the heart and then cultivated in the heart. Meditation 14 is essentially exactly the same, but like I'm saying, you're shifting your attention to the energetic grids, and it actually is a lot more complex. But don't make it complex. Meditation 14, heart-centered energetics. Inhalations and exhalations into the octahedron. That's only one of the shapes that are there. So it's not wrong, like I said. It's just over all the years of contemplating, I'm like, it's not only an octahedron. I don't even know why back then. I really thought it was only one form, but again, you just don't have to focus on the words octahedron or dodecahedron. It's too complex. Just realize this is a very complicated set of geometry structures, which I tried to give you with the image here on the right of the screen. Focus on the octahedron, or really just the geometries at the heart. If I had to rewrite it now, I'd probably say the geometry is at the heart. Chest. Focus on filling the structure with light, with the awareness on love and compassion. So remember, it's not about the physical heart. It's not about the geometries. It's about love. You have to remember to focus on the energetic of the area, like the essence of that chakra, or you start to miss the whole point. Remember the 7th chakra, that term is spirit. The energy of that is spirit. If you only focus on an ascending tetrahedron, you're forgetting about God, right? So it's like while you're up in this area, which we'll talk about in a moment, yeah, you can contemplate this ascending tetrahedron, ascending upper tetrahedron. But what's in the space? Oh, I got a 5th chakra up here. I got a 6th chakra up here. I have a 7th chakra up here. And you can follow these subtle geometries home. All right, so don't get too caught up in level 1 or level 2. Remember, there is a goal. The goal is God. The goal is enlightenment. And these geometries just pave the way to get there. I can't emphasize enough, you focus too much on the precision or the words or what geometry or what anatomical structure, you miss the whole point. When we're doing a yoga pose, energy is like moving up the pose. And we learned in yoga class about all the anatomy, you know about the vertebrae, you know about the skeletal structure, you know about the muscular structure. But when you're holding a yoga pose, you're not thinking about all that stuff, but you know about it, so it makes you a better yoga, it's a better yogini or yogi or yogini. But it actually would make you a better yoga teacher to be able to focus on those, all the knowledge of anatomy, right? You're a better physician because you know about anatomy. You're a better yogi because you know of anatomy. You'll be a better meditator because you know of anatomy and energetic anatomy. But remember, the goal of yoga or meditation is God realization. Not the geometries on the way to that. So remember when we go to meditation 14 or meditation 2, we're breathing from the region of the hara up to the heart. And in level 2, that core central channel is not a line, it's a tube. Your sushumna is a tube. It's not just a line of force. Right, so, and then Ida and Pingala nadis, the snake-like channels that go up, those are 3-dimensional as well. As your wings unfold in meditation 10, or what would it be, meditation 22, I guess. You never think of the numbers while you're doing it. The wings meditation, that's also going to have its own three-dimensional structure to it. All right, so we covered meditation 14. And again, just, you don't have to be good at it yet. It's very advanced stuff. It might take you years before you start focusing on these levels. Meditation number 15, ascending energetics. Meditation 3, ascending. The bottom line of the ascending triangle begins at the level of the kidneys. The two angled lines run from the lateral sides, so it's the outer sides of the body at the kidney level, up to the crown of the head. The small circle at the crown represents the third eye point, located above and between the two physical eyes. Energy moves from the hara to the heart and then to the head and is cultivated here at the third eye region, while the attention is directed towards the self. Again, self meaning spirit. You follow Om home. You follow the geometries home. You follow the mantra back into its source. But don't get caught up in the tool. Buddha would talk about, here's the perfect word for this. Buddha talked about the finger pointing to the moon, right? If an advanced meditation teacher wants to show you the moon, he or she would point the finger towards the moon. But you don't stare at the finger, you stare at the moon. Don't mistake the finger pointing to the moon for the moon itself. Don't get caught up with the finger. If you're taking a boat across the river to get to the other side, when you get to the other side, don't carry the boat on your head. Right? A lot of teachers have ways of explaining, don't mistake the techniques for the goal. Don't mistake the map for the terrain. When you're looking at the screen is a map of the terrain. You are the terrain, but you're not a body. You're not an etheric body. You're not an astral body. But by learning to follow the geometries to the subtle levels, you will be directed back to God by default. Again, that's why it is a path to enlightenment here. It's not just a cool spiritual practice that might give you health benefits. You do this, it will inevitably give you divine consciousness experiences. There's no way around that when done over time, as long as your intention is in the right place. Okay, so back towards the self. Now, to do it in the ascending energetics fashion, meditation number 15, ascending energetics. Inhalations and exhalations into the ascending upper tetrahedron. Focus on directing the love of the heart to spirit. Okay, so basically exactly what we're doing before, but instead of a triangle, imagine a tetrahedron going up to this area and start to focus on what's up here that's not physical. You got chakras, you have meridians, you have these geometries. As far as the base, I quite often feel the navel represents the front of the base of that tetrahedron, and the kidneys towards the back represent the back of that base. But again, it can rotate, so it's not bound to the physical body. But visualize that at that level and then feel those three, not just two anymore, three lines of force going up. You can visualize those as pure white light or whatever color it feels like. And then up at the top, you've got an ascending tetrahedron. We're focusing largely up here, but energy is moving up those lines of force. Okay, then, conscious of the time, I want to do my best to get us through this, ideally in the first 2 hours. Let's see what we can do. It gives us about 15 more minutes. Meditation 16 and 17, sexual energy and circulation energetics. I know at least one of you discovered that once you get to meditation 6, the 6-pointed star, and you're doing meditation 7, the star reverse, which deals with the microcosmic orbit, you can essentially skip numbers 6 and 7. I'm sorry, 4 and 5. Sexual energy is always at the base of the descending triangle. You don't have to focus on it specifically unless you want to, and of course you can, just like we do when we're being sexual. Right? You're allowed to focus just on your genitals and enjoy that, and share that with someone else. Or other people, whatever your thing is. So you're allowed to focus on sexual energy, but in this system, It's there every time you go to the base of the descending triangle. But we do have meditations 4 and 5 because we learn the system and we have to teach the system. Just like learning hypnotherapy. You know, you learn it in stages. There's exercises I teach to teach it to you that you do in your in-house practical hours. But you don't necessarily do that stuff with your clients, right? If you're, and I'm not referring to sexual here, I'm just saying, if you were to learn 2 hypnotherapy techniques in in-house practical hours, that's like what you learned during your in-house practicals. Like, that was only an exercise. You don't necessarily do that for your client. You have much more advanced protocols. You can always do a meditation 4 and 5 or 16 and 17. But once you know the patterns of the star, all of this is covered in it anyway. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink. I'm not gonna read for the sake of my voice and the sake of time. Meditation 4, sexual energy, you know, you just focus and breathe down there. And then meditation 5, circulation, we know we pull that up to the higher regions. So let's just talk about 16 and 17. 16, sexual energy energetics, or sexual energetics. Inhalations and exhalations to the sexual organs with the awareness of the triangle of testes to penis, we talked about that a little now, or ovaries to clitoris. Focus on the energetics of the sexual essence as light. So you can contemplate, like I said, 2 testes and going up to an erect penis, or 2 ovaries going down to the clitoris. But the energetics go way beyond the physical. So if I were to rewrite it, I probably wouldn't even mention those very small regions of the whole of the universe, right? You've got this huge descending triangle. Yeah, it goes all the way down to that area. And the vagina, like I said, is kind of a Vesica Pisces shape. But you're not really focusing on that. So what I'm going to encourage you to focus on in sexual energy energetics, it's so hard to verbalize. This is one of the trickiest ones. Level 2 is a totally unique experience because it's not physical. And the description there is physical. You know, it's kind of like, for me, it's so hard to verbalize this. You're just gonna have to feel it out yourself. Imagine the descending triangle, like for women. The descending triangle is going right down to your clitoris. But now imagine that not physical, but there's a pleasure center at the very bottom of that. And when you're not physical, breathing into it, part of my hesitation is not that it's that hard to talk about. I'm trying to do it in ways that are relatively discreet. You know, I struggled with that in the past when I introduced these topics to try to be as professional as I can. You're kind of tickling, that's the word I was hesitating on. You're kind of tickling like the clitoris or the penis with the descending lower tetrahedron as you're breathing into it. But like, you know, be with that. There's like 3 lines of force going down to that area. And it's like just, you know, stimulating, tingling that area. You can have your own unique experience of bringing all of that love and light down to that area, not on the physical level, on the etheric level. Now, when you get out of your body, in level 3, we talk about astral sex, we still have all of that, but we don't have a physical body. So penis, clitoris, ovaries, testes, none of that means anything out of the body. But we still have geometric grids, we still have lines of force, and you can still put your attention on your sexual energy in or out of your body. Out of the body, or in level 2, sexual energy is different. The way you perceive others is totally different. You know, that's more of a level 3 discussion. Yeah, it's a level 3 discussion. But eventually I'll talk about it. What's it like to be sexual with someone physically? And what kind of relationship do you have with that person on the physical? But what's it like when you're out of your body to interact with another person sexual, or another being sexually? But we're not there yet, even though I would like to talk about it. For the sake of time, just hold that thought. And then you just breathe down there, but be aware of the descending triangle going all the way to the point, descending tetrahedron going all the way to that point at the bottom. But try to visualize like the first chakra, because that's where there's a hexahedron, a square. And you might want to study the geometry of the chakras. because first chakra is a square or a hexahedron, and your sexual energy is very much down there. When we do circulation energetics, that's also a bit challenging to talk about, not for reasons of being discrete, but because where is that line of force? When we do the microcosmic orbit, we breathe up the back over the top. But now we're talking about a descending tetrahedron. Well, or really an ascending tetrahedron. Let's go to, the picture on the screen is too simple for that. What you want to start contemplating, maybe here, when we breathe up the back central channel, it relates a lot to the ascending triangle. I have to say ascending tetrahedron, the back part of an ascending tetrahedron. There's a line of force, maybe here in this picture. Imagine here's this whole region is the base of the ascending triangle. But you have a point that goes up to the top of the ascending tetrahedron. You'll be pulling energy up that ascending triangle, up kind of like that back line of force. But if it helps, you could also just imagine pulling it up the microcosmic orbit. And let's see what it says in the training manual. So in a sense, you know as much as I do about this. You probably grasp what I'm saying, but the subtleties of it just require years of practice, and eventually you'll probably be able to explain this to someone else in a better way than I am. All right, so again, let's find it here. Meditation number 17, circulation energetics. Inhalations up the back central channel of the descending tetrahedron. This is why it's very complex, and I realize what I was saying before about ascending and descending. I'll explain it. Descending tetrahedron into the ascending upper tetrahedron. Exhalations fill the ascending upper tetrahedron with transformed sexual essence. Again, don't think you understand it now. It's a practice. And eventually, like, oh, I see what he's saying. Sexual energy has to go, when we bring it up in this descending triangle region, right? It has to move up through here, but then it gets hooked up into the ascending triangle up, and then it ends up in the ascending upper triangle or ascending upper tetrahedron. All right, so it's going up the descending lower tetrahedron region, up the ascending tetrahedron, and into the upper ascending tetrahedron itself. All right, so it's complicated, I get it, but when you're practicing, it's not at all. Although it is a little bit, because it's asking you to seriously contemplate these grids. And then meditation number 18, the 6-pointed star energetics. So remember, this pattern goes, if you start at the head, it's like head, shoulders, hara, kidneys, head. And then it keeps circulating. But it could go all the way down to the sexual energy. And therefore, you really don't have to even do the sexual energy meditation and the circulation meditation. Quite often when I come up here, I go down to the shoulders and then down to the hara. I just always go down to the sexual energy, feel that, enjoy it a little, and then move it up to the base at the kidneys and pull it up. And then once you do the star reversed, you have to focus on the microcosmic orbit as well anyway. Okay, so if you ended up spontaneously skipping the sexual energy, specific meditations, it wouldn't be so bad. As long as you're doing meditation 18 and 19, which are always, if you want to, always embrace the sexual energy. Because remember, we could go down to the hara. But if you want to be holistic, you want to cover all aspects of your being and understand all aspects of your being, then yes, you're going to go down to the sexual energy here. Okay, so that's meditation 6. You know that. I don't have to read it. Let's go to meditation 18. The 6-pointed star energetics. Inhale to the ascending upper tetrahedron. Right, it's the region up here. All right, we're ascending upper tetrahedron. You'll see my cursor there, or this area here. But again, 3 dimensions and 3 lines of force. Inhale to the ascending upper tetrahedron, up to the ascending tetrahedron, or the again, exhale to the top of the octahedron. That's really not the best way to describe it. Like I said, the term octahedron is only one of the geometries there. When you descend down in the whole shoulder, neck, throat region, you might be better off just focusing on the star tetrahedron in the chin to navel region. Okay, so, again, it could be a dodecahedron, that's there. It could be a hexahedron, that's there. So I wouldn't have said octahedron. That's only one of the geometries in that area. Exhale to the top of the octahedron of the heart, or dodecahedron of the heart, or again, star tetrahedron of the heart, at the level of the clavicles and the thoracic vertebrae too. So again, that whole region. Inhale to the lower descending tetrahedron along the descending tetrahedron. Exhale to the bottom of the octahedron of the heart, or again, whatever you're sensing is really the bottom of that region. It is an octahedron for sure, but it's also a star tetrahedron. But like I said, it's all the Platonic solids in that whole area. Of the heart, at the level of the kidneys, focus on the balance and harmony of the body's sacred geometry. Okay, so the explanation is crazy complicated. I get it. Thank you for bearing with me. The meditation is real easy. You just inhale up the ascending tetrahedron, exhale down the ascending upper tetrahedron. Talking about it is hard. Breathing down here is real easy. Breathing down the descending tetrahedron is easy. Exhale up to the base of the ascending tetrahedron is easy. So once you understand level 1, level 2 is actually pretty easy. The explanation is crazy complicated because we're talking about geometries that none of us think about normally. All right, let's finish that up, and then it's 2 hours and we're going to see where we're at. Congratulations, you're ready to move on to the next lesson if you feel that you're ready. That's what it comes down to, and that's it. All right, let's do a question and answer, see where you guys are at. I think what we're going to do though is take a 5-minute break. I'll pause the recording. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break, so 5-minute break, and then we'll do Q&A before the cushion. Then I'll get on the cushion, and then we'll do more Q&A, and we'll definitely finish within the 3-hour mark easily today. All right, stop sharing, back to chat pod. Questions, answers. How many of you are still here? You're all right, am I still here? Don't be overwhelmed. If I learned all this the way I just taught it to you, I'd be like, what the hell, I'm not. But trust me, when you're meditating on it, it's just beautiful. And then you start moving the grids out of your body, and you're meditating on them, not like right here, but right here. And it's like, whoa, there's this grid. But your consciousness goes into the grid and into your etheric body, and then you're not really even in your body anymore. So I know it seems complicated, but in practice, it's pretty simple. Good, still here, still here. All right, great. Yeah, no, everybody's still here. That's great. All right, let's take a 5-minute bathroom break. When I come back, I'll either be on the cushion or we'll be here for any other Q&A. Okay, so 5 minutes, which brings us to, I'm in East Pacific time, so I'm gonna use my time, 6:10. Let's be back at 6:10 or 9:10 for you guys in Eastern time. All right, see you in 5 minutes. Okay, we have resumed recording. We'll do Q&A. We're doing a little bit of discussion. I was recommending a book. I'm not going to recommend it on the recordings, but it's, it's nothing, no reason really not to. It's just when things are a little too close to what we do, then it's almost like you're better off just knowing what we do and sticking with it. But anyway, for those of you who heard about that, I would recommend that stuff. Again, the system is totally different. I think the whole lineage, however it comes about, is very different. So question is, we start level 2 practice with visualizing the geometrics in my body and gradually out in the space in front. Okay, and then you said of me. Everybody listen to the language really carefully. So we start level 2 practice with visualizing the geometries, or geometrics you said, the geometries in my body, and gradually out in the space in front of me. So your body, or you, or remember, you're not a body. You're a spirit. You are the observing consciousness of your body end of these geometries. You're the observing consciousness of your etheric body. You're not an etheric body. You're the observing consciousness of an astral body. You're not an astral body. So when, and I'm going to answer your question, but I liked how I could nitpick the term my in my body. Your consciousness, when you're visualizing or being with, you can see, feel, hear, maybe the geometries, you're the observer of them. Most of the time now in level 1 and level 2. All right, I'm going to read the question again with a more direct answer for you, but really consider who is the you, because you're not a body. When we start level 2, are we doing the grids in the body or in front of the body? The answer is in the body. However, to understand the grids better, it's sometimes nice to really dissociate from them, dissociate them from your body, but dissociate them from your awareness. So you're looking at the grid. And then, of course, you could reassociate into the grid, but while the grid's out of your body, which is leading more to level 3. So I would encourage you guys right now, keep the grids in the body, because when the grids start coming out of your body, and when you start transitioning your consciousness from the body, let's just say from the physical body to the etheric level, you'll be pushing into out-of-body experience land. And again, that's really disconcerting. I mean, it sounds wonderful. It's like, oh, I want to get out of my body, I want to fly. You can't imagine, like when I just went up to go to the bathroom, I was going to comment on this. I'm so not human anymore. This, like my body, everything about me is decades of being with this stuff. I'm so much more than a body. Just imagine the grids I'm talking to you about, living with that stuff surrounding you. You're lying down in bed at night and immediately putting your attention in the grids, and then being with your etheric body and with your etheric plane more and more. It's not human, and it's not easy to function as a human when you're doing that. So the answer to that question is keep the grids in the body for now. I know I alluded to that because I'm alluding to a lot of level 3, because I'm also a good salesman. I'm not charging you guys, at least not this current group. I'm not charging you, of course. So when I say salesman, I just mean I know how to guide people through a sales funnel. I know how to guide you through a process. So I talk about where it's going because it's exciting. But you shouldn't really be taking the grids out of your body yet, but you can contemplate them in front of you for sure. You're like, I don't have to see a tetrahedron in me, in my body. I can move it out and see it in front of my awareness. Like, so I'm here, the observer, and here's the grid in front of me. It's only when you really start putting all your attention into that and taking it out of the physical body that you're going to feel, you're going to feel not human. Okay, so that's my best answer to that. Don't do it yet, because actually taking the grids out of the body is more of a level 3 practice. Okay. I can visualize grids around the body. When you say grids out of the body, I'm having a hard time visualizing that. Where is it, like in front, away from the body? Okay, good. So this, like I answered, don't really do it too much yet. But where is it? Well, it's wherever you want it to be. But like, where is it beneficial? It's not beneficial to keep the grids out of the body. Keeping the grids out of the body is like keeping your etheric body out of the body. Don't think, oh, it's really advanced, so I'll just do it. If you're advanced enough to understand that stuff, you don't want to do it very much, because when you're not in your body will suffer. Remember, you are the life force energy, you're the spirit, who animates this body. It needs you. 7 days being out of the body, the ancient advanced yogis, they say your body would die 7 days out of your body. When you have an out-of-body experience and you come back to your body, it can be very healing for the body, because you, the neurotic nutcase who's causing psychosomatic illness, not the person I'm talking to now, just human beings, our minds are a mess, and it causes physical health problems. It's shocking to me how toxic people are and how healthy they remain. I mean, there's a lot of illness out there, don't get me wrong. But the fact that your body survives with that much anger in your system, again, I'm not talking to the person who asked the question. When you have that much anger in your system, it's destroying your body. And so when your mind is really clear and the grids are in your body, it's very health and life affirming. It's really good for your body to be in your body with a totally clear system. When you leave your body you're pulling the life force energy out of it. But if you do have your own issues, which we all still do, when you have your own personality quirks that are actually affecting your physiology in negative ways, when you get out of the body rebalances itself. I've had a cold many times over the years, like 2 or 3 times at least, that the body had a cold. I left the body for a legitimate out-of-body travel, flying around somewhere else, come back to the body and the body's healthy. I'm like, that's crazy, because I was the one causing the psychosomatic illness and I wasn't there anymore. So for a little bit of time, it's okay to be out of the body and it can be beneficial. But enough time out of the body, which is this, let's call it what it is, this spiritual path will cause you to spend more time in spirit, which is what you should do if you're, moving. Remember in Meher Baba's chart about reincarnation and then the involution back to source, you got to start putting your attention on the higher levels if you're going to go there. You don't wait until the time of bodily death to go there. If you're not focusing on those higher levels now, if you only focus on the human now, you reincarnate to who you think you are. If you think you're human, you're going to reincarnate as human. As you start focusing on these more subtle grids, you're focusing on the more subtle bodies, the etheric template. Eventually we'll transfer our consciousness to that subtle body. We'll extract it from the physical. We'll fly around. We'll come back, but without a hot, we know how to come back fully. Because you know how to breathe into all these grids, you'll always be fully in your body in a beneficial way. When we untouch the grids, it's kind of like the untethering the hot air balloon. When you untether the grids, so one way to say it, it's kind of an accurate way to say it. When you untether your grids in your etheric body from your physical body, you'll start having etheric projection. So in level 2, I wouldn't be doing much of any of that. I know I alluded to it, but the answer to the question for level 2 is stay in your body. But like I said, you can contemplate the grids, you can visualize them in front of you, no problem. But if you start visualizing the grids and the etheric body, and you're putting your attention in those grids, it's okay, but it's just level 3. And we'll get to level 3 most likely in 2 weeks. So just practice level 2 in the body, just like level 1 is in the body, so you know how to do it. The only time level 1 comes out of the body is the wing shape. And they're barely even doing that. Level 2 with the wings, let's be with that for a moment. You're really pretty far out of your body, because you can imagine some big old wings if you want to. Yeah, and that's just not physical. So again, I've given you guys lots of warnings. Best not to begin. Once begun, better finish, because I don't want my eyes now as I'm focusing on wings. It's really hard to want to stay physical. Trust me, it's like, flying is always better than not flying. As you know, I'm an avid paraglider, and I am hiking a lot now during COVID times instead of flying as much as I used to. And whenever I talk to people about that, I'm like, it's much better up there. I'm getting to enjoy the mountain where I live quite well on the ground level. I'm exploring lots of cool stuff. It's always better higher up. And when you have to land, it's like, damn it. It's like, all right. So with paragliding, we stay up as long as we possibly can. In this area, we can stay up for 3 or 4 hours if you have the stamina and the skill. So like 3 or 4 hours in the air is awesome, and you only come down because eventually gravity wins. Same with out-of-body travel. You get out of your body, you don't have to worry about coming back. Gravity, whatever it is, will suck you back in. So you stay out as long as you possibly can. But while you're flirting with these levels, I like to be in or out. And right now I'm a little bit out because I'm teaching you level 2 and pushing into level 3 and enjoying that. I'm like really glad to see the door opening again, honestly, because the door was pretty well closed to do my mission on Earth. And now I'm like, I'm in the latter half of life. Awesome. The doors are going to be open again. And that's nice. And I don't have a whole lot of responsibility on the physical plane. Well, lately, but anyway, I can delegate and spend a lot of time alone. So I'm not talking about me. My point is, if you can spend a lot of time alone and you don't have to hold a job, you don't have to be there for your kids or whatever, or if you have a spouse and your spouse isn't into this stuff at all, and you start leaving your body, you're vibrating here, this person's vibrating here, yin and yang have to harmonize or they separate. So be careful with how fast you guys go with this stuff. When you're flying around with angels and you have to come back to your spouse who's doing the beer nuts and football thing, you're going to have trouble connecting. So again, the many disclaimers I can give you to keep you healthy and in your current relationships. All right, so that's the answer to those 2 questions. Thank you, everybody. Wings is actually incredible for me. The experience was magical, timeless, seemed like time didn't exist. It doesn't, neither does space. And breathing was super light, amazing experience, beautiful. I love hearing that stuff. So yeah, wings and all the meditations, really, all of level 2, like wings goes out of your body. All of level 2 essentially will be out of your body. It'll be focusing only on etheric. You'll totally forget about physical. It's not even out of your body. It's in the space of your body, but one dimension up. Your questions about where am I alluding to moving the grids? It's so good because I gotta get in the cushion, but either way I can feel it right now. The etheric plane exists in the same space. It's like one vibratory level up from physical. That's where the grids are, that's where the chakras are, that's where the meridians are, but it's not where you normally are. When you put your consciousness to that level, you'll be there, and that's right here. But when we leave the body, one way to do it, only one way to, it's one of many ways to do it, one of a handful of ways to do it. Yeah, if you move the grids out, I can feel it. Oh my God, sorry, that seemed dramatic, but what I felt in there was dramatic. When I just did that talking to you, the aspect of my etheric body at the second, third chakra region, like popped out. Sorry, it sounds dramatic when I'm talking about it, but there was a significant shift that just occurred when I talked about moving the grids forward and letting the etheric body go with it. I know what it feels like to leave my body, and that was like the beginning of that movement. So I'm not saying you'll be good at it right away. I'm not saying I can do it anytime I want to. Alluding to level 3 and the out-of-body components. When I want to leave my body, especially now with my level of understanding of the grids, like I said, I untether them from the physical and I move them out in front of me, and then I move my etheric body out in front and I transfer my consciousness into it. Yes, the energetics are very subtle and very beautiful, but what I started doing at that time, it takes usually 2 weeks of 100% ascending. You stop all the geometries and you only ascend. It's so intense to live that way. I mean, how many people do you know how to do that? I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying, like, you want to understand, like, nobody lives that way. Right? There might be some yogis in caves who are doing that kind of stuff, but to live your life when you're not in your physical body most of the time is really hard. So it's kind of all or none, like the door's open or closed. And if you do what I teach you to do and open that door, you better be ready for an interesting time in your life. But because we have the descending meditation, we and balancing ourselves back in the grids, we always know how to come back in. When I used to leave my body in my early 20s, or like 20s and 30s, it was like a hand slipping out of a glove and then I'd fly around. But when I came back in, it was like a hand slipping back into a glove. But I never knew how to be fully grounded after that stuff, because I was always a bit out and I always had ascending on. The ascending energetic was fully on. When you only ascend, it's just too much for the human system. You weren't meant to live your life not in your life, right? Like your life, your human life is all 7 chakras. When you leave your body and focus only on the highest chakras, you're not doing the human thing anymore. And the human thing is going to suffer because of that, right? It's like, if you're out of your body, how do you make a living? If you're out of your body, how do you be there with your children? I mean, like, I'm not saying like leave for 10 minutes. I mean, when you're not here, you're not here, but you're here for a reason. Nobody ever said you have to stay in your body 24 hours a day. I love when I say that because it's so true. Nobody said you have to be in your car all the time. If you're a truck driver, you might be in your car 8+ hours a day. Your truck 8+ hours a day. You might be in it a lot, but nobody said you have to be in it all the time. You're not locked into your body. You are still free. However, I'm just giving a long answer to you guys. Very good questions about when the stuff starts moving out of the body. Be very cautious about doing that. It sounds exciting, but I think you need some serious warnings if that's a major part of your spiritual practice, including snapping back to your body. Some of you maybe shouldn't be leaving your body because it could be too much of a shock to your heart if you smash back into it. That's okay, but it will be your final projection. I don't have any evidence of that, but I'm just saying, if you smash into your body and you give yourself a heart attack, that'll be your last projection. And then you can go off and continue your journey and people just think you died. I don't know. Again, I'm not speaking from experience, obviously, but I don't think you should take the out of body stuff lightly, and moving the grids out of the body is definitely pacing and leading you into that. Okay, great. Let's get on the cushion, especially before we run out of time and before the room gets too warm without AC. All right, so I hope you guys will meditate with me. You're more than welcome to. Let's see, good enough, but let me adjust the camera just a little. All right, that'll be good enough. Okay, so you can find whatever position works for your body: quarter lotus, half lotus, full lotus, seiza, or if you're sitting upright in a chair still, don't lean back on the chair. This is one of the times where sitting upright with a straight spine really matters, because the grids go behind you. And you're so used to focusing forward because you're looking through your eyes. That's Bhutan Vritti, right? Outward oriented attention. Now we're starting Narod Vritti, turning the attention in and up. I'll explain Narod more when we get to the Samadhi teachings, when we revisit those. You want to start realizing your consciousness, the sphere of your consciousness, sees in all directions. When you're out of your body, yes, you can look forward, but you can also look backwards. When you rotate inside of your body, you can look through the back of your head. Your consciousness is not limited to just two eyes looking forward. So as we feel and visualize around us, stop visualizing in 2 dimensions and stop visualizing only looking forward. You have a back to you as well. In fact, if you think about God and you're like, God, come to me, and you're waiting for someone to come down to you, well, why couldn't he come from the back? God is everywhere. Spirit is everywhere. And when you start getting out of 2-dimensional, human, I mean, this is 3-dimensional, obviously, the physical, but it's still kind of a flat plane, especially on your TV screen, your computer monitor. It's a flat screen, but it's not flat, it's 3 dimensions. The grids go way outside the confines of the body. And as you start focusing on those, you start realizing, wow, there's all this space here. And there's a triangle here. And I'm much more aware of that increasingly as I go to level 2 than I am of the physical body. Okay, but let's start, because we won't run out of time, but I'm going to try to keep it at 3 hours. So let's do that. So I'm going to just do quarter lotus. It's comfortable. And I'm going to bow in. Adjust my cough drop and bow in. Bowing, let's take just a moment. Bowing is a spiritual practice. It's not an unmindful thing. Like, notice I said I'm going to bow in, but I didn't just bow. I'm focused on the geometry of my hands, right? They're not down, like this is called Gasho in Zen practice. The elbows are up. The thumbs are right up against the sternum at Ren 17, the acupoint right there for the heart. I'm adjusting my alignments. My body is nice and aligned, shoulders and whatnot. And then I'm mindfully bowing in. Hands go right to the hara. Chin is down, shoulders down, sternum down. Descending, meditation 1, inhale to the hara. Exhale to the hara. The eyes are open. And it's always good to descend with eyes open. You don't always have to, but it's really good to do a lot of descending with eyes open. This is what gets us back into our body out of body experience. If it weren't for descending, I would be a total space cadet. So I'm glad I can just sit here like this. Tip of the tongue and the roof of the mouth. Breathing below the navel. You can breathe and count. I'm not going to necessarily count. That's easy to do. I'm going to try to describe more of each meditation. Hands in Mahamudra. I'm very mindful of that. I'm very mindful of my body. I'm working to allow my spine to be aligned, my shoulders to be open, belly soft. And I'm working towards fruition now, being fully present right here now. I went to level 2. So with level 1, we're really focusing on the hara. Feel the diaphragm pull down, the belly expands, exhale. Feel the belly push, go back in, diaphragm muscle goes up. So we're really working to be very physical when we're doing descending. And for the sake of time, let's be fully present right here now. No past, no future, just with your body, breathing right into the moment. And then let's go to meditation 2, heart-centered. And pulling energy up the core central channel to the heart, exhaling, opening the heart, and focusing on love. And right now my eyes are still open. I don't know if you hear the heavy metal music in the house down the street, but I do. So right here now at the heart, only love. Just breathing into your heart center, self-love. Love for all beings. And eventually opening to divine love. And then closing the eyes. We're starting an inner journey. Chin goes up a little. Hand can relax. So I just have my left hand resting in my right, not doing Maha Mudra. Tip of the tongue still on the roof of the mouth. Once we move through the heart, we go up to the crown, third eye region, ascending. I immediately think of samadhi. I focus on pure consciousness. I pull all my attention to pure conscious awareness. Devotional love, the love of the heart and the concentration go to spirit, so I'm concentrated. And I'm focusing on the self and spirit. On God, whatever you want to call that, but when I say God, I do mean some sense of, actually strong sense of devotion. Lover and beloved. And God is Father and Mother. Just do your best to tap into that now in your own way. You're breathing up here, you're focused up here. And just find your own version of ascending. And of course, you're still very much aware of your body, but attention is going up into pure consciousness. And only for the sake of time, I'm going to drop the chin a little. Soften the shoulders, eyes go down. We're going to take a breath and breathe that all the way down to the sexual energy. I'm going to allow the light and love and deliciousness of spirit to go down into the sexual energy, and then I'm just going to focus there and breathe. And at the base of the descending triangle, I'm aware of the sexual energy. It's unstimulated now. And so in brahmachari, in celibacy, it's always active, but it's just not stimulated. And as you inhale, pull that up the back central channel to the head. Exhale, circulate it at the head. Meditation 5, circulation. because I've been so on level 2, I'm not feeling as solid physical about it. So if I were, I'd be pulling the sacral and cranial pumps possibly. But right now it's a very subtle energy of just pulling the sexual energy up the spine, predominantly up the back, and then circulating it at the crown. It moves up through the hara, through the heart. It goes through all the chakras, really. And then eventually it's just all up in spirit. It's not focused on the sexual energy, just focused on spirit again. But again, there's a deliciousness and a love and a connection, the source. And it's not just in front. Focus on the sphere up here. It's all around everywhere. Then to move into meditation 6, the 6-pointed star, we inhale up to spirit. Exhale down to the shoulders. Inhale to the hara, or the sexual energy region. Exhale to the kidney level. Inhale up to spirit. Exhale, shoulders. Inhale, hara, sexual energy. Exhale, kidneys front and back. There's a 3-dimensional component here, of course, because it is a body, which is 3 dimensions. Inhale, up to spirit. Exhale, descend spirit down to the body. Inhale, sexual energy. Exhale, nourish kidneys and internal organs. Inhale up through the heart region, always through the heart. Exhale up to the head. Exhale down to the shoulders. Again, the heart is in your awareness. Inhale, hara, or sexual energy. Exhale, kidneys. And let's go to meditation 7, the star reversed. Inhale to the head. Exhale down the ascending triangle. Inhale down the front central channel to the sexual energy. Exhale up the descending triangle. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale down the ascending triangle. Inhale, front central channel down to the sexual energy. Exhale that up the descending triangle. Inhale up the back to the head. Exhale down the descending triangle. Inhale, front central channel, sexual energy. Exhale up the ascending triangle. Just take a moment on your own. Right. So inhale back to the hara. And then when you're ready, take your next inhalation up the back central channel to the head. Exhale down the arms, the yin meridian of the arms to the hands. Inhale up to the crown. Exhale down the front central channel to the hara. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale down the arms. Inhale up the arms. Exhale from crown down to tailbone or head to hara. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale down the arms, the yin meridians of the arm. Inhale up the yang meridians of the arms to the head. Exhale down to the navel. And release once more. Inhale up the back. Exhale down the arm. Inhale up the arms. Exhale to the hara. And then you can go right to the legs. Inhale down the legs to the toes. Exhale up the legs to the hara. And of course, always sexual energy could be there. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale, head to hara on the front central channel. Inhale down the legs. Exhale up the legs. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale the head down. Hara or sexual energy. Inhale down the legs. Exhale up the legs. Inhale up the back central channel to the head. Exhale down the front central channel to the hara. We'll do one more of those. Inhale legs. Exhale legs. Back to the hara. Inhale hara to head up the back. Exhale head to hara down the front. Moving into wings, inhale up the core central channel, hara, heart, head. Exhale, wings branch out, back down to the heart. Inhale up the core central channel, up the entire chakra system to the head. Exhale, branch out, back to the hara. Once again, inhale up the Sushumna all the way to the crown. Exhale in the wing shape, left and right, heart shape, back to the hara. Inhale up. Exhale down. Your heart open to love and compassion. Focused on the halo. Focused on the wings. Inhaling up to the halo region. Exhale, expand your wings back to the hara. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Do a few more on your own, focusing on love and the highest spirituality of who you know yourself to be, alluding to an angelic sense of self. Are you willing to just sit here now as an angel? For some reason, my hands are going to my knees. Doesn't matter, just make a note for you. And the thumb and index finger are touching. But again, it's not always that way. Meditation 11. Integration. We're going to inhale up the ascending triangle and up the spine. Exhale down the descending triangle. Down to the tailbone region. Hara. Inhale up to the head. Ascending triangle, exhale down, descending triangle. Just inhale up. Exhale down and focus at your heart at the center of ascending and descending. And notice if you can sense kind of a cross, a switching, an X pattern in the heart. And again, inhaling up the ascending triangle. Exhaling down the descending triangle, awareness at the heart. Meditation 12, structure. Inhale up the entire skeletal structure. Exhale, relax everything else down. Inhale up the erect, upright, vertical skeletal structure. Like you're in anatomy class skeleton. Exhale at the skin, organs, everything else relaxes down. Be sure you focus on your legs, your arms, your pelvic girdle. Inhale, visualize the entire skeletal structure, pack it with chi, meaning visualize it filled with light. Exhale, just relax everything down over it. Let your whole body soften. The skeletal structure remains solid, right? That's hard. And yet your body softens over the solid skeletal structure. But it's deeper than that. Breathe into the core of the marrow. Pack the whole body with chi. And relax your body so there's no tension. This prepares us actually for level 2. This meditation is more profound than people may realize. It's really opening the whole system to transition the consciousness to level 2. Skeleton, inhale, and then everything else opens, relaxes as you exhale. Okay, level 2. So when I think level 2, everything changes. I shift instantly to energy grids, not to the physical body. We're going to focus on meditation 13, descending energetics. And let's become aware of the descending lower tetrahedron. I feel my navel to identify the front area of that first. And then the 2 kidneys, back, left, right. That's the top level, not the exact precise anatomy, but that level is the top of the descending lower tetrahedron. It goes down to your tailbone region. Just breathe into that. Tailbone, and then there's 3 lines of force. Up to navel, up to left kidney region, up to right kidney region. And then the tops of those lines are joined with the triangle, which is the top of the descending tetrahedron. So just be with it for a moment, visualize it. A descending tetrahedron, tailbone, kidneys, navel. 4 points, 3 lines. And there's a sphere in the center called your heart, which is your second chakra. First chakra, in color red at the tailbone. Second chakra, color orange, below the navel. But again, not just below the navel, it's that whole sphere of that area. But it's not physical. And then the third chakra is right in this range in your solar plexus, in color yellow. And visualize this lower tetrahedron, descending lower tetrahedron. Its lines are pure white light. And it's being filled with pure white light. Now there's a big difference in level 2. I'm barely breathing. I'm directing my chi, not my breath. My concentrated power is moving the chi here. I'm moving the breath within the breath. My diaphragm muscle moves. I'm really not breathing. I mean, breathing is happening, but it's not what I'm doing. The body obviously has to breathe, but I'm not doing it. It's autonomic, it's automatic. I'm just focused on my energy grids, not my physical body. I'm contemplating where the points are, and I'm breathing into what I know of the descending lower tetrahedron. I don't fully have it formed in my vision yet necessarily. I don't fully understand it, but I'm putting my attention there so I can get to know it. Now, we're not going to focus on it much, but it's important to say the descending triangle isn't only that. Now focus on the entire descending energetic, like from all around your body, the space all around you, as big as you want to go. You can focus on the whole sky, the whole universe, really. And then there's a descending triangle right down through your shoulders, right down there. But again, it's not a triangle, it's a tetrahedron. So now when I say triangle, you might think 2 dimensions, but tetrahedron, think 3 dimensions. And that's a 3-dimensional vortex of energy pouring down into your human. Focus below the navel, and you're focusing the base of that vortex. The tailbone being the bottom of that vortex. I don't know, but I think this is what Abraham Hicks means about being in your vortex. So see if you can feel your descending triangle, descending tetrahedron. And then, of course, we have a lower descending tetrahedron at the region of the hara. So I would say beginner practice on this is to focus on the lower descending tetrahedron. But all you have to do is be aware there's a bigger descending tetrahedron funneling all this energy into your being. Now, while focusing on the idea of the grids, not my body, but the grids, I'm moving up to the region of the heart. Physically, it'd be above the navel. So now I have a 3rd chakra there for sure. Yellow, the solar plexus. At the heart, Anahat chakra, the color green, it's a sphere. And these chakras, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, have fronts and backs actually, not to confuse you there. So just the sphere of green at your heart. And we're breathing up into that. And then focus on the grid, the grids of this area. There's a star tetrahedral pattern for sure. It's the star within the star. And there's an isosahedron, icosahedron. And there's the octahedron, dodecahedron. But you don't have to visualize every single facet of these, just be in that area. And remember, it's really about love. And as you're going up in that area, your throat chakra is the color blue. And this whole area is filled with white light. And if you want to visualize the traditional chakra colors, yellow at the solar plexus, green at the heart, blue at the throat. Focus on the 6-pointed star. It's the hexagram or the hexagon. And then 3-dimensionalize it. There's a star tetrahedron right here. And all the lines of force go right to the very center of the heart. And you can contemplate this and meditate on it for hours, and it'll keep revealing more and more to you about who you are and why the heart is so sacred. And only for the sake of time, we're going to inhale up the chakra system and focus on the ascending upper tetrahedron. So above the shoulders, to the crown of the head, at the back of the spine, thoracic vertebrae 2 region, we have the back point, and then the 2 shoulders, the 2 outer points. It's the base of this tetrahedron. And then we inhale up to the crown of the head, and we focus in the space inside. So kind of map out that tetrahedron in your mind, in your body. It's still in the confines of the body right now. But we're shifting awareness from the body to the grids. So your awareness is learning to be much more subtle. Obviously, you can't be in the past or in the future, nor you can be making stuff up. The only thing you might be making up is you're visualizing this region. But there's no mind chattering whatsoever at this stage of the game. There's your 5th chakra at your throat. The color blue is in this region. Your 6th chakra, the color indigo, a bluish purple in your 3rd eye region. And at the very crown, the top of the ascending tetrahedron, is spirit. In the 7th chakra, the color violet. Or you might imagine the 1,000-petaled lotus. Focusing on spirit now. And the ascending upper tetrahedron. The sphere of awareness here. Again, there's barely any breathing, but all the life force is going in and up. There is an ascending tetrahedron, but we'll focus on it soon. Now you really don't have to focus on the lower aspects that are down at the kidney level. Right now we're ascending, so we're fully up. And keeping your attention on the grids and the visual imagery is guiding you away from the physical. But again, the attention is always on God. The geometries are just pointing the way. The geometries are the finger pointing to the moon. The moon is spirit, and that's still your primary focus here. Now again, for the sake of time, even though we could spend a lot more time in all these meditations, we're going to inhale up into spirit. Exhale down to the shoulders for a moment, and then inhale down to the sexual energy, and we'll focus here. I'm focused on the entire descending tetrahedron from shoulders down to the sexual organs. I'm focused in the region of the point where those 3 lines of force converge at the base of the spine region. I'm feeling sensations in my body, like digestive stuff. Just doesn't really matter. I'm just letting you know. Since my body called for my attention, I'm going to breathe into my hara there. The body responds to these really powerful movements of energy. So I just kind of feel like my digestion just kicked into gear a little, and the energy I pulled out of it dropped down into the lower regions. And I keep directing that down to the sexual energy. It's very hard to describe because it's not about the genitals anymore. It's just about what's at the very tip, the very base of the descending triangle, the first chakra region. It's the color red for first chakra, and the color orange for second chakra. And I am opening to the idea of sexual, but it's just not genital sexual. And that's something you'll contemplate here. What is sexual? What are these lower chakras when we're not with genitals? First chakra deals a lot with safety and security. Second chakra is all about pleasure. And these grids are definitely adjusting things around all over the place right now. Be sure to keep breathing deep. Diaphragm muscle is moving because a lot of energy moves down here, like a lot. And it's very healing, but you need to be sure you keep breathing. And then we're going to inhale that up. It goes up the back central channel, but this is like the back of a tetrahedron. So I'm breathing it up the line of force of, don't be too technical about it, but it's kind of like the back of the descending tetrahedron. So I'm breathing up the back and then up into the ascending upper triangle as I circulate or kind of move the energy into the ascending upper triangle. It's like a line of force up the back. Exhale into the ascending upper tetrahedron and the sphere up here. So when I pull the sexual energy up here, it's not really physical anymore. We've already done that. It's like the refined, sublimated sexual energy is easily brought to God. It's like a gentleness at this moment of transformed sexual energy into just a very pure chi. It goes from Jing, the sexual energy, to Qi at the heart, to Shen in the higher plane, higher regions. Jing is the lower sexual energy, transforms to Qi, the heart level, transforms to Shen, or spirit, in this case held up in the 6th, 7th chakra region. So we're breathing up the back line of force, back central channel of what feels like the descending tetrahedron, and then right up into the ascending upper tetrahedron until all the awareness is back up in spirit and we're not aware of the lower regions at all. So all my attention now is up in spirit, 7th chakra, 6th chakra, ascending tetrahedron, the sphere of consciousness here, opening to where I meet God, where God meets me. And Christian mystic Meister Eckhart said, the same eye that I see God with is the same eye that God sees me with. The same eye that I see God with is the same eye God sees me with. 7th chakra, spirit, and vision at the 6th chakra. Inhale up to there. Ascending upper tetrahedron, exhale down to the shoulder level. But that's the top of the descending tetrahedron. Inhale down those 3 points to the hara, lower descending tetrahedron, and all the way down to the sexual energy region, the base. Exhale up the descending lower tetrahedron to the base of the ascending tetrahedron, kidney level. Inhale up, 3 lines of force, navel and kidneys area up to the crown. Exhale down to shoulders, the top of the descending tetrahedron. Inhale, sexual energy region, hara, yet descending lower tetrahedron. Exhale, kidneys and navel, but now base of ascending tetrahedron. All the way up those 3 lines of force to spirit, following the lines up. And just go at your own pace, remembering we inhale to head, we exhale to shoulders, we inhale to hara or sexual energy, and we exhale to the kidneys, and then back to the head, and we keep recirculating. But give me a moment in silence, and you guys just practice focusing on the larger star tetrahedron. Again, there's very little physical breathing occurring. It just does it on its own. I move my energy to the top of this triangle, the top of the tetrahedron, at the very top of the crown. And I don't even exhale, I just direct my attention down to the level of the shoulders, the top of the descending tetrahedron. And then with an inhale, but more directing the chi down to the base of the descending tetrahedron. Exhale up the lower descending tetrahedron. And then inhale up the ascending tetrahedron back to crown. Continuing. It's really about the breath within the breath. It's about energy, geometry, chakras. It's all here. It's just you're always so focused on the physical. Now you're practicing tuning your attention to the etheric. And just a couple of hints. Just as you have a physical body, you have an etheric body. So you might contemplate, work to visualize, work to understand what would your etheric body even look like. Remember, just like you can't see your physical body unless you look in a mirror, same thing with the etheric. So you're not visualizing in a dissociated way, you're in it. But how does it line up with these grids? And the other subtlety hint to give you now is the star within the star. We have a larger tetrahedron from tailbone to crown. But we have another tetrahedron from navel to chin. And then there's a tetrahedron within that at the heart. So you might imagine that concentric circular template, 7 spheres, the Russian dolls, and each layer represents a layer of your aura. So you're just learning to transfer your consciousness now to the auric levels. The first being the etheric, one level out. And when you're done, which is now, even though we're never done, I'm going to bring the hands to Pranam, Gasho, hands to prayer at the heart. I'm going to bring all my attention back to my heart right now. I'm focusing on my energy grids, not so much my physical body, because I'm not really in my physical body now. My awareness is on the energy grid level. But now if I really want to get back to a little bit more human functioning, we can even put the hands to Maha Mudra. Spine straight, chin down. And I'm going to very, very, very slowly open my eyes and keep meditating. I'm going into descending meditation 1 right now. I'm coming fully back into my body. It's really important when we get to the out of body stuff, and you know how to get back in. So breathe below your navel, eyes are open, hands in Maha Mudra. And now you'll start to underappreciate the benefit of descending. Focus in your heart, soft shoulders. Come back into your legs, come back into your arms. And reintegrate. And if you want, you can take a breath through the 6-point star pattern on the physical level. Inhale the head. Exhale shoulders. Inhale hara. Exhale kidneys. And bring it all right back to the heart. So I don't want to continue my day in the etheric level. It's just the wrong radio frequency. It's okay, it's there, you can tune to it, but you can't really function well from it. So you loop back in, here's physical body, and I'm fully back in it to continue. I wouldn't want to live. That's why I went to the bathroom when I took the little break. I was like in level 2 because I was teaching it, and it was a little weird. You can function that way, but you don't have to. You can just always tune to it when you want to. So Anahata is all about coming fully back in. Right? Remember, fully grounded, fully open to spirit with a fully open heart. And all you got to do is just level 2. It'll be a trigger phrase. Just think level 2 and you go zoop and you go there. But when you're done with meditation, think level 1, back to your heart, back to your heart. Even forget about the third eye stuff for now. Unless perhaps you're in some kind of healing art, like working with the psychic intuitive level with your clients, then certainly keep all that open. But just to, and it's always open, but you don't have to focus on it. With my clients, I focus on all 7 chakras, and I feel everything they're giving me, and my intuition from the higher places. But to end this, definitely come down and in, and with that, move out. I'll go up to the cushion, to the computer, bring the mic up there, question, answer, and then congratulations on your initiation into level 2. All right, get the AC back on in this room. Let's not give you the crotch shot. Jeez. All right, there we are. Okay, great. All right, how we doing, everybody? I'm open to question, answer, discussion, whatever you like. We passed the 3-hour mark. All right, anything anybody want to share or ask for today? Okay, for the sake of the recording, somebody said major heat. Okay, yeah. When I was way up and then I brought that down in level 2 to the sexual energy region, all of my, all of my organs inside was like just moving around and digesting, and I think it's all really good for you. It's just bringing attention to every single level of your being. You can't focus on all of who you are at one given time. You're like really here in your body, or you're in your etheric body, flying in your etheric body, or you're going beyond even all that, which eventually we'll be doing. But realize like you're so much more than you may have realized, and by aligning the subtle energies, it can only benefit your body as long as you're mature enough to stay in your body. I could have taught you out-of-body experience a few months ago, but you'd become a dysfunctional wreck if you did only that. With this system, You'll stay very healthy, very clear, very balanced, and yet at will, you'll be able to tune to the higher levels. And then out-of-body experiences, or samadhi, is a conscious, voluntary experience. All right, what am I saying? Very well, thank you, thank you. That was lovely. What do I do to keep my left leg from going to sleep? Well, mine fell asleep. My right leg fell asleep during that, and I limped over to the chair. And there's about, I think, 40, 45 minutes or something. So after about 40 plus minutes, I'm not sure how long it was, the recording would tell us, but your leg is going to fall asleep. The only thing you can do, so on a hot, quite often I'll do level 1 with my left leg in front, and then my left leg will fall asleep, usually in about a half hour. Then I'll switch legs. The back leg, which is my left leg, will gain circulation. My right leg will eventually start to go to sleep. But I can usually make it through a whole hour just by switching whatever foot is on front. If meditating for that long is too hard for you, then what you might do is learn Kin-Hin, Q-I-N-H-I-N, or K-I-N-H-I-N, Kin-Hin. It's the form of walking meditation done in Zen practice. So you might sit for 25 minutes, do 5 minutes of walking meditation, but learn how to do it. It's a formal way to meditate while walking, where you position your hands and how you step, how quickly you step, and it's different speeds at different places. But generally, you walk for 5 minutes in a meditative fashion, then you get back on the cushion and you can do another 25 minutes. And my first Zen teacher, we would do 3 25-minute sessions. Meditate for 25, walk for 5, meditate for 25, walk for 5, meditate for 25, and then we're done. You know, but that was a good hour and a half plus of being able to be on a cushion. Yeah, you really, even like I do yoga, I take care of my body. I've been meditating for years just because of how good my circulation is, which is not that good. My veins, my body is definitely in the thinner side of things. So I don't have robust circulation. I will definitely have my leg fall asleep in about a half hour. And there it was pretty much dead asleep at the end of that time. But I was so not aware of it that it really doesn't matter. But yeah, it hurt a bit when I got up for sure, but I regained circulation, no problem. So walking meditation, or if I do a lot of meditation, like hours and hours a day, I'll quite often lie down to let the circulation come back in corpse pose. You know, Shavasana, palms up, legs apart a few feet, hands away from the side, palms up, and then let everything come back to balance, and then get out, you know, circulation, and then get back up and sit again. Or do yoga for a half hour, and then get back on the cushion. So when I meditate for 10, 12 hours, I'm not just sitting still the whole time. I'll do walking meditation, I'll do yoga, I'll lie down. The whole time is a meditation. And it's better to actually call it spiritual practice or sadhana. I'm doing sadhana for hours on end when I'm, you know, actively engaging spiritual practice, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus hours. But yeah, you're not always sitting still in lotus pose. It's just, even in a Zen monastery, you know, they're not doing that. In Vipassana meditation, they'll do like 10 hours a day. I've never done that, honestly. I'm not a Vipassana meditator. I'm more of a Zen meditator. It's like the same grueling long days, but I don't think Vipassana has all of that movement that Zen does. That makes it so much easier to go through days of spiritual practice, but you're doing body practice, walking practice, liturgy practice, studying scripture practice, and there's things you do. It's all spiritual practice, but you're not only sitting still for 8 hours a day. It's just impossible, really. Even when we do like really intense session, the end of a session, we did like 7 days of intense meditation, and then the last night we might pull an all-nighter. And at that time, your body's in a whole different state. And you're doing this, you know, in a monastic setting. So yeah, you can usually get through the whole night with minimal body adjustments, but that's at the last day of 7 days of very intense meditation. And then most people can't do that anyway. Okay, so good. My foot fell asleep a little too, but the meditation was very enjoyable. Nice. Yeah, to me, it just has a lot to do with how good is your circulation. There's nothing I can do anymore beyond what I do to make that better, and it's as good as it's going to be. So yeah, once I fall asleep and it's really painful, then we need to adjust. And you guys should never hurt yourselves, of course. All right, so amazing to focus on the grids and other levels. Thank you, my pleasure, thank you. Oh, I missed one. Somebody said a couple of times I had the awareness that I was in another room in the house. I felt super relaxed as well. Great. So yeah, as soon as you're dissociating, not a great word, but as soon as you're dissociating or disconnecting from the physical level, your vision, your spiritual vision is going to start opening, and you realize you live in a non-local universe. Time and space are illusions. And here's another little tip on all that we'll eventually get to. Minds are joined. You are joined with every other child of God, and you're not as far away as you might think. When we do out-of-body travel, the better way to travel is not to a place, but to a person. And they can be, quote, living or dead. They could be in a body or not in a body, and you can go and visit them. So just a little hint, as the veils start to drop away, not only are other rooms in the same basic space, and you can walk through walls and see through walls, but so are other people a lot closer to you than you might think, which is really sweet. Right? If you want to connect with somebody who's not in your local space, just meditate on them. You're a lot closer than you may think. All right, nice. That's a good comment. Thank you. Somebody said lots of skeletal adjustments, felt like everything was aligning automatically. Exactly. Not just your spine, which level 1 does for me all the time. What happened today in level 2 multiple times I was teaching, like major movements of organs and digestion, and I'm trusting that's all for the greatest good. But yeah, it can be uncomfortable at times, a little like pangs of discomfort when things are shifting around. But generally, just like a good massage or good Tai Chi or good yoga, this is that. It's chiropractic, but you're just doing it on your own cushion, and you do it every day. So it's like this subtle maintenance routine. Rather than going to a chiropractor once a week or doing yoga once a week, it's an everyday series of adjustments for sure. The energy buzz that is created within Wing seems to sustain itself from then on, which is perfect, she said. It's a love type of buzz. Beautiful. Yeah, when you always have revelations in this every time you do it, especially as I'm teaching it, I always learn something new. And when meditation 12 finished, and then I went to level 2, I could really feel why 12 is the bridge to level 2, because the spine was erect, obviously, but everything else relaxed, and as it softened, I was able to move out to the next level. When we do out-of-body travel, I'll teach you more about body asleep, mind awake. Somebody asked last week if I can astral project while sitting in lotus, and I can't. The body is just still too awake. But when you put the body to sleep and everything is totally relaxed, like you can't be more relaxed right than when you're asleep, but you're conscious, then you can slip out of your body. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's always healthy. I'm not saying I can do it every night when I want to, but I certainly have done it more than enough to know that it's real, and I've had enough students who have done it. So this is a way to make that happen, but I don't know of any system that is including all of this stuff within a very reasonable period of time. Within a few months, we're already talking about moving into super high mystical states. So nice. I think you guys are feeling a lot of it. Awesome. All right, that was what, 3.5 hours? God, all right, well, we did it though. We got through part 1 of level 2. Next time, I'll work to get us through all of level 2 with new audio. I got some work to do before next week. But we'll meet in a week. If you have questions, please email me. I'm very open. Nobody's been abusing that, so I'm very open to when you need to email. And any feedback, I'm fully open to it. And we'll be through level 2 pretty soon, and then level 3 gets even juicier. All right, good. Thank you, everybody. I'll stop recording. I'm still here for anything off the record, and wishing everybody good night, and stay safe during these absolutely wacky times.